chickadees. Holy smokes, we're past the middle of the week. Happy Thursday to you. I know a lot of people call it Thirsty Thursday. I am not one of those people, although I do have plenty to stay hydrated for tonight. We're going to continue this evening with day 8 of Tennessee versus Zachary Adams. Then we'll probably, let me consult my notes here. Yeah. And day 9 will probably start this evening as well. So we've got a lot to cover. Thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on back. Yes, we're back. Hey, everyone. Ava is back with us, and my camera's deciding to do some very crazy things. There we go. Every once in a while, it gets a mind of its own. And KS Granny, hey, chickadees, thank you so much for joining. If you are on Replay Crew, please remember to hit the like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. And also, don't forget, there's the, oh, and I have it covered up here. I'll get my act together yet. Let's try that again. There. Like, subscribe, do that thing right there. And if you want to know about any of my other social media outlets, you are going to want to go to that one right there. That link there is the magic link, or as some of us content creators call it, the grifting link. That's my grifting badge. So if you were interested in doing any sort of donations, you can go there to do that. And also, once I am monetized and I can offer you some merchandise, there'll be links to get that as well. Let's see. What else do I want to cover? Oh, Brian Walsh. So we're done. My understanding, I didn't see anything today. I had a busy day at the old day job. And I saw nothing today, except I did hear that tomorrow morning we're going to have closing arguments from both the Commonwealth and the defense. Get it together, Janet. And it is limited to 45 minutes for each, but she's not going to cut them off. But I would still say they'll probably keep it to about an hour. And yes, I thought it was crazy too, Ava. I thought that maybe they would put Mama up on the stand. Like, it makes me very curious about a lot of things. This trial, the presentation of it did not go anywhere close to how I expected it to. And quite honestly, had I known this is what they were going to do, it may have been a trial I didn't even cover, because it's not exceptionally intriguing. The only part is, I honestly don't think, sorry about that. I honestly don't think that there definitely, in my mind, will not be a conviction on first degree red rum. I don't know if this jury will come back with a second degree red rum or not. I believe that's more plausible. But we never heard from any of the usual suspects, Proctor, Tully, Buchanan, none of them, which was very surprising to me. That's what drew me in initially to the case, is because they were involved. So at any rate, let's get back to Tennessee. Does everybody have their sweet tea ready? Or maybe, I don't know, since it's Thirsty Thursday, do you have to get your kinky vodka? Oh, and by the way, what has happened? I had this all set up here. Hang on a second. Because I'm Christmassy. And I have my light behind me. It probably doesn't. I usually have it on blue. I have it on green. I tried red. Red looked a little, ooh. So we're doing green. And of course, I have my Christmas lights behind me here too. I'm trying to be very Christmassy. So, yes, KS Granny, I know, unsweetened tea for you. Okay, let's get to it. We left off with Mr. Adams, that is Zach Adams' grandfather who was testifying. And we just finished direct examination by good Jennifer, and we are now going to head on into cross-examination by bad Jennifer. So let's get to it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Adams. Can you hear me?
Barely.
Right. I'm gonna get a little closer.
Okay.
Oh God, we'd love to have an opportunity to get close to it.
Oh, Jerry, look at me. I'm so good.
How's this?
That's better.
Is that a lot better?
That's a lot
All
better.
right, I understand. I have trouble hearing myself. The day that Ms. Thompson has asked you about, April the 13th, 2011.
Okay.
That's the day that Holly was missing.
Right.
You and Billy were working that day like you do most days, right?
That's right.
Now, I understand that when you get to work, sometimes you get there a little bit early, sometimes he gets there a little bit early, you hang out some.
Yes.
And then when you get back to the office, sometimes you just hang out there a little while after.
Right.
To make sure there's no more calls.
Whatever comes up.
And sometimes, and I understand from Billy that you're the person that keeps the logs on, or the log on where you go.
I'm the one that has to report it.
Right. And so on this particular day, I was reading I was reading along with you, and you met Jug at the Sigler's, is that right?
Siegler.
Sigler's, to fix a blow off.
Right.
And then you went to the Smith property, right?
Right.
I guess the meter covered up or tried to turn water off or something.
Right.
Okay. Now, you don't say in here how you got from one of the jobs to the other, though, right?
No.
Okay. It sounds like you don't need to, that you're pretty familiar with the roads and whatnot.
Right.
Heifer.
Do you remember on July the 14th of the same year that, let's see, Ricky Inman and Terry Dykus came to the office to talk to you?
I talked to several.
Oh, I know. This was about 11:15 in the morning. You know Ricky Inman, though, right?
I know Ricky Inman.
Okay.
I forgot to tell you all. Oh my goodness. How? I'm so discombobulated today. I got caught in traffic on my way home from work and it has just messed me up. I forgot to tell you all. I called the Dykus law firm today. I sure did. I wanted to know how to get a book. I want one of Terry Dykus authored book. And so I called the law office because that's how I roll. And I talked to, I believe her name was Katie. And unfortunately, Katie did not have any information for me on how I could obtain a book. But I called the law office and I talked to somebody there. She seemed a little baffled and puzzled as to why I was calling, but yeah. I tried my local library. I Googled all over the place. And I finally said, well, you know what? I'm just going to call the law office. What could happen? The worst they'll tell me is no. And that's what they told me. So there's my story about getting the Terry Dykus book. I tried.
You know Terry Dykus, right?
Who?
Terry Dykus, TPI? Does that ring a bell?
No.
Okay. But you know Inman. You
I know
Inman.
Inman.
Okay. You remember Inman coming to talk to you at some point?
I don't remember it, but
If Inman made a report that he came and talked to you, would you have any reason to think that wasn't true?
No.
Okay. And they came to ask you what you knew about, or if anything, about Holly, right?
I don't remember it.
Not because they thought you were involved in any way, but they came to ask about your grandson and his friends, didn't they?
About the what?
About your grandson and his friends?
I don't remember. I don't remember him coming up.
Did you
I remember.
Did you make the statement?
Your Honor, if he doesn't remember, then
She's gonna ask him if he made a statement.
if she's gonna ask him his opinion as to people's involvement, Your Honor,
So far, the question,
I object to her asking, his opinion as to who would be involved, because I wasn't allowed to put on Terry Dykus' opinion as to who's involved.
Well, that's.
she wasn't asking that.
And the reason why I'm going to ask this question, in case there's further objection, Your Honor, is because this is after the day where he just talked about the car being tucked away. So, anyway, did you make the statement? I don't know anyone specifically that you should look, but I would look at all of Zach's friends. Did you say that?
I don't remember that.
And she can ask him if he said it, okay? He can either say, yes, I did, no, I didn't, I don't remember.
And in fact, I'm required to ask him before I can bring in extrinsic proof. Did you make that statement?
I don't remember it.
I'm
You don't remember it for sure?
fine
You
as
say
long
you
as
did
the
say
rules
you
are the
I don't
same.
remember it.
And do you remember them coming back to talk to you, like February of 2014, so like 3 years later, where Brent Booth and Chuck Baker came to talk to you again at the office?
I remember Brent Booth and Jeff Jackson.
Okay. Well, I think several people have been to talk to you, haven't
Yeah.
they? Okay. On this day, Brent Booth was there. do you remember, no, well, let me go back. So when they talked to you in 2011, do you remember telling them that you were out in the field that day, which is what you just told us, that you were working that day, right?
I don't remember it, but if they asked me, I told them.
Yeah, because that was where you were,
Yeah.
right? And I hate to bring up something sad, but did you tell them all of that time is a blur for me because my wife passed away on April 1st, 2011, and was buried on April 3rd?
I don't remember telling them that.
Would that have been true though? When bad
To
things
some
happen?
extent,
Yeah, and things sometimes get blurry. Okay, so they were asking you about what you did, and you said you were working because you were, right?
right.
I mean, we saw that. We read, you wrote the lot. Now, when they came back 3 years later to talk to you about the same stuff, it's always about the same stuff, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you remember telling them that day that you knew about seeing Zach and Dylan and Shane in Zach's truck, the dark green 2003 Chevy, because they were in front of the Shell station at the 126 exit and were traveling south, and that it was at 10 o'clock in the morning?
I
Dark
don't remember 10
green.
o'clock, but I remember telling them I'd seen them.
Okay, so when they came to talk to you right after it happened, you didn't remember, right?
I did remember.
Right when it happened?
I remember the day it happened. I seen Zane and Zach.
So, but when law enforcement asked you about it, you told them you didn't remember.
No, I didn't.
But then you later came to remember not only that you saw them, but exactly what road you were on, what exit you were on, what gas station you were at, and which way they were traveling.
She has me lost.
I remember that well.
As a
Any reason
juror,
that you
I'm
didn't tell them
lost.
about that 3 years before?
I don't remember them asking me that 3 years before.
Okay. So by the time they came back to talk to you, your grandson's name was still out there, wasn't it? Was Shane's?
Yeah.
Do you remember telling the law enforcement that Shane was at Zach's house a lot during that time period?
I don't remember.
Do you remember now?
No, I don't.
You don't remember?
I don't
Shane?
remember. Not a lot.
Not a lot
I've seen him there.
in 2011?
I don't remember what year it was.
But you
I've seen him
remember-
there after that.
He thought his wife
Time or
passed
two,
away
yeah.
in
I seen him. He come pick Dylan
2010.
up. Dylan go pick him up.
Remember saying that Zach and Shane were good friends during that time,
They've always been friends, I reckon.
and that
Where are you trying to go, Bad Jennifer? Come on, heifer.
if Zach did this
Move
to
it.
Holly, he's a good candidate for it because of the people he runs with and all the things he is into,
I said he was a good candidate for it.
and that you don't ask him a lot of questions because I don't want him lying to me.
No, that's Dylan.
He needs to tell you what he did, and I will do everything in my power to help him to make him cooperate.
That's Dylan. I love it.
Is that what you said?
No,
He's precious.
Did you tell law enforcement that
Do we know what day this is?
she's on the same day?
What day is that?
July, same day we started with.
And that is?
Same report.
This is 3 years later.
This is after he's been arrested? This is after March, or after they searched the
This is
house?
2/28/14.
Okay.
That's all she asked.
Remember
What's the
telling law
stinking
enforcement
date?
Zach and Dylan don't work, and they don't have any money except for what I give them?
I could have.
That would be true, correct?
Right.
You talked about Dylan. You said earlier that Dylan was slow. He needed a digital watch rather than
Right.
one with the hands. And he was in some special ed classes, right?
Do I?
He was in some special classes at school,
Special ed through school.
but he was able to drive. He could find his way from one place to the other,
He got his driver's license.
right? So to get your driver's license, you have to be able to read. You have
Right.
to take tests. So the man can read.
Yeah.
He's able to feed himself.
Yeah.
He's able to get his clothes on.
Yes.
You didn't have to pick out his clothes for him.
No,
He can nose his way around the kitchen if he's hungry. I'm not saying he's a chef. But he can fix himself something to eat.
he did.
He could work. He just didn't keep a job, is what you said, right?
Right.
So he was slow, but it didn't affect his ability to make it through the day. In other words, he didn't need a babysitter. He didn't need somebody holding his hand, right?
Right.
And your point?
1 moment.
Ay, ay, ay. So far, your cross examination has been pointless to me.
House. Now, do you remember Mr. Booth, Brent Booth, and I come into your house to talk to you a few months ago?
Sure.
Okay. And I'd never met you before that.
Right.
And I asked you on that day about a 911 call, actually a couple of 911 calls that you made on well, the day that Holly was missing, right?
That's what you told me. It was made then.
And at that time, when I asked you, you said that didn't happen.
I don't remember.
And that when I asked you some more details about it, about what Zach was doing to make you call 911, you didn't remember that either.
I don't remember.
Do you remember making any 911 call regarding Zach's behavior at your house?
Sure.
More than one?
Yes.
Do you remember a night when you were asleep in bed? Dylan was there asleep, you said, and that Zach came up in there?
I'm gonna object if they're gonna mention some kind of 404B evidence this time.
It's the call.
It's just a call. We've already been through it.
Okay, I just wanna,
She can actually remember it.
Do you remember a night when you were asleep in bed, a Wednesday night, Dylan was in there, and Zachary burst into your house and jumped on you, woke you up trying to get guns out of your house?
I don't ever remember him waking me up to get a gun.
Okay. Do you remember him that same night trying to talk you into giving you his car key, your van key? Okay.
I remember him wanting the van keys when he called the sheriff to me.
He called the sheriff on you?
Yeah,
That was your work van, wasn't it?
yeah,
Okay. That's not a van that you like to give him, is it?
no,
So that must be a different night. The night I'm
that
talking.
was in the daytime.
Oh, that was in the daytime. Okay. And do you remember him coming in your house at night and you actually having him getting guns and you having to get them away from him?
I had a gun his daddy bought me for my birthday. He wanted it for some reason. I wouldn't let him have it. And I don't remember it being a particular time.
Right. Was that in the daytime or was that at night?
It was one evening. It wasn't. I hadn't been in the bed either.
Different. All right. Thank you, sir.
Got it?
Yes, sir.
Done?
What was the point of that? No time frame that he doesn't remember anything. And I believe that he doesn't remember.
Around the time that they were searching your house regarding Holly Bubba's disappearance. So I'm talking about February of 2014. Do you remember when all the TBI agents descended on your property to search it? Do you remember that, Mr. Adams?
You heard.
And at that time, they were telling you that they were going to arrest Zach for the murder of Holly Bubba, weren't they?
Yes.
Okay. And they told you that they knew he had done it. They were confident, didn't they?
They said they had evidence.
Real evidence that he had done it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's when you talked to them and said you would talk to Zach and tell him he needed to tell police what he knew.
Yeah.
Because at that time you believed what the police were telling you was true, didn't you?
I went to talk to him.
Okay. But you believed what the police were telling you at that time was true, didn't you?
They told me I needed to
well,
talk to him.
Okay. I don't want to get too much into hearsay. Hearsay is what they may have told you at another time. But, you were trying to get Zach to do what you thought was the right thing at the time.
Right.
And you've always tried to be honest with law enforcement, haven't you?
I have.
No further questions.
Done?
Yes, sir.
All right. You can be excused. You come back in the courtroom if you'd like, okay? Don't discuss your testimony anyway. We're gonna take, the afternoon recess, follow the rules, and then get out soon.
I don't see how that helped the prosecution at all, but I mean,
The mother's
what
name, what's that?
do I know?
Betty Bell.
They go on All-American name with. Raise your right hand, please. Solemnly swear the testimony you got to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you got. Be seated, state your name, first and last, and spell them for the court reporter, please.
It's William Bell. I go by Billy, but William, Williambell.
And I'd like to point your attention to the day that Holly Bubba disappeared, and that's April the 13th, 2011. Okay. And are you familiar with Dick Adams?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you know Dick Adams?
him and his wife and my mom and dad was been friends all my life.
Okay.
And I've known him all my life. Yeah.
Okay. And so then do you also work with Mr. Adams?
I do.
Okay. Where do you work and what do you do?
Do what, ma'am?
Where do you work and what do you do?
We work at North Utility Water District, and we cover 2 counties, Decatur and Benton County.
Okay. And so many times on a day-to-day basis, do you work directly with Dick Adams?
Yes, it's usually me and him. We'll go out and do whatever we have to do.
Okay. So are you also familiar with Zachary Adams?
I am.
And let me ask you about a truck, a white Nissan truck that Dick Adams owned in April of 2011. Okay. Are you familiar with that truck?
Yes.
Okay. How is it that you're familiar with it? We just tell the jury.
We used to work in it, but it was our work company truck.
Can you speak up just a little?
It was our work truck that we used all the time, our company truck that they paid him mileage for, but we used it on a daily basis.
Okay.
So I've rode a many miles in it.
Okay. And then at some point Dick was no longer using it for work.
The district bought a new company truck, and Dick was driving in that one at the time.
Okay.
And he stopped using the Nissan.
Okay. And so on April the 13th, do you have personal knowledge about where that truck was?
I think it was at my mom's house.
Okay. You said you think. Do you think
Well,
that or do you know that?
Everybody knows me, knows I'm a coon hunter, and I got dogs at my parents' house. I'm there at night feeding them, and I seen it at night when I pulled up there.
So you definitely saw it. When was the first time you saw it at your mother's house?
Me and my wife, I got married on April 1st. We was actually in Mexico. I flew back. We stayed for a while through our honeymoon. I flew back April the 6th. The Nissan truck was there on the 6th.
Okay. And then what about on the 13th?
I remember seeing it at night every time I was there.
Okay. So you're sure it was there at night on the 13th?
I think it was there for 2 to 3 weeks at night. That I can know at night.
Okay. Now, on the day that Holly disappeared, you were with Dick on that day doing various.
We was. I don't know exactly the time I clocked in. Usually either from 7 to 3, might have been 8 to 4. But that day we, would probably stay there maybe to 9. I don't know. Usually we stay there to 9. Our office manager comes in. She has calls for us. We go out
And to be clear, on that day, you don't remember seeing Zach Adams driving in around in a truck that day.
I do not remember seeing him that day.
Okay. So that's just to be perfectly honest and direct. You don't remember that.
I do not.
Okay. No further questions.
Hi, Mr. Bell.
Hey.
When I got this key yesterday, I think.
Yes.
I just have a couple of follow-ups, some things that we talked about yesterday. Because of everything that was going on with you, got married, you went on your honeymoon, you
Yeah.
had to come back and live with your parents till your house was ready. You have a pretty good memory of this time frame, what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
Okay. And you told me that you were a coon hunter, very careful to keep your dogs on the same eating schedule. So if you want to hunt at night,
That's right.
you're not going to feed them before you go hunt.
Mm.
Is that right?
That's right.
And so that's how you know that you would be at your mom's house around 10 p.m.
But were you at the
My understanding
coon
that Dick
hunt
And your mom, or I guess your mom had given Dick permission to
fair
put the white
celebration?
Nissan Frontier, had some like graphics on the side of it.
It did. It did.
Behind the building in the back. I can't remember what you said yesterday.
Yeah. What I knew, because I had got back and it was already there. Dick had told me that he went and got it out of impound. He actually drove his van to my mom's, where she carried him to get it out of impound and dropped him. Yes, right. And then when he come back, he had 2 vehicles there, so he left the Nissan and hit it back there behind. There's two red shop buildings. This is a big property. Left it behind in between the 2 shop buildings.
Okay, now the shop building's wider than the width of the truck.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so this property sits it back off the road.
The house, it sits up on a hill, and then the shops are sitting even behind it.
Behind that.
That's right.
And I believe you told me that though your mom is not in good health now, at the time you thought her mind was okay in 2011,
It was probably better than it is now.
but not great.
No, absolutely.
And I believe you also told me that you believed that you were certain, without a doubt, that Zach Adams or anybody else could have come and gotten that truck out, and your mom wouldn't have known it.
That's correct.
And because you are,
But they'd have to
because
have
you are and noticed the
keys.
truck between the shops, you believe you would have noticed had it been gone after 10 p.m. Is that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't not think it wasn't there when I pulled up there. I think maybe if it wasn't there, I would have said, somebody got Dick's truck. But I think every time I pulled up there and fed my dogs, it was at that property.
Is there? And you've used words like, I think I would have noticed, I think I would have said something, but the truth is, there is a possibility that the truck could have been gone for a night, and you might not have noticed it one night.
I mean, it could be. I guess. I mean, I had a lot going on. I was trying to get into our house, and it was actually on down the road across the highway. We was remodeling it and yes, I had a lot going on.
Now, on another topic, Dick testified today. You told me that he kept a journal or sort of a log of what y'all did.
That's right.
Because you worked with him on a daily basis, right?
That's right.
Still work with him.
Yes, yes.
And you care about him.
Yeah. Okay.
Went back to April the 13th, 2011.
Mhm.
And in his log, he said that he wrote, if it wrote on that day, Billy and I met Jug at Siegler's and fixed blow off and something else. I couldn't read the writing. Do you remember that?
I had to hear that where we was at. I couldn't recall, exactly where we was at when he said that. It brought back memories of. I remember kind of how we went that day to get there, and I remember leaving the plant and the way we went. I remember hearing. I got a phone call. I don't know what time it was. I remember exactly where we was at. A friend of mine called me and said they took Dana's Bobo daughter, and I said I didn't even know he had a daughter. I knew of Clint, but I didn't know of Holly. And I just remember that exact place, and I remember how we went.
Right. Because you did remember that, and it's not surprising. That was quite a piece of information for you to get. Tell the jury exactly where you were and then the roads that you took to get to your next destination.
We was on Old State Highway 69, and it's rural. It runs. We run over to I think a road called Franks Road. Went down Franks Road to Duck Farm Road and crossed the highway, crossed 641, going towards Yellow Springs or Pew Road, and we would have went around through there, and that would connect it back across to Jeanette or to Bible Hill Road. I know we went to down Bible Hill Road because I remember the 2010 flood. It had the bridge down at Holiday out of we couldn't cross, so we had to take the Joe Holiday Road, bear it around to Allen's property. And I
Good old
remember
2010 flood.
Did you and Dick
I remember it well.
go by the front of the Shell station at the 126 exit that day
I can't remember.
around 10 a.m.?
I can't remember that.
When you say that, does that mean that's not the way you went?
If it's logged in where he had it logged in when we went
No,
back,
it wasn't logged in. I read you the log.
Yeah.
So now I'm asking you, and you just told us the direction you went,
that's the way I remember.
and you don't remember going past exit 126, and you don't remember seeing.
Wait. He shook his head. You need to answer. I should take it down what you say. I know you shook your head because I saw you.
So so no, you didn't go by the 126. Did you see, well, first of all, you know Zach Adams?
Yep, there you go
Yes,
again.
yes, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Everybody
Not
does
trying
that.
to embarrass you. A lot of people do it, but you need to speak out of it.
I'm sorry.
So she's doing this to see if it's a yes or no. And you said yes, correct?
Yes.
Known him his whole life?
Yes, yes, I'm sorry.
We're gonna hit the train about the time we turn you loose, okay?
What about Dylan Adams?
Yes,
What about Shane Wilson?
yes,
Know all three of them?
yes,
Would you have recognized him if you saw him at the Shell station?
yes.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Further direct?
Yes, Mr. Bell, you did cross over 641 that day from Duck Farm Road to Pew Road, didn't you?
Yes.
That's the way you remember going.
That's right.
And when you crossed over 641, that's where 641 comes down from the Shell station towards Parsons, isn't it?
Yeah, we was on the rural, and it's a rural area right there where it's actually Mr. Adams, Dick, they own on all four corners at that location. And we crossed over, we crossed over to P Road and went that way.
Okay, and so it's possible that Zach Adams could have been in an oncoming car as you crossed over and you didn't see him.
It's possible.
Because
I mean,
you weren't paying careful attention that day to, I mean, you weren't particularly on the lookout for him at that time, were you?
that'd be correct.
No, no.
Oh, well, okay.
I know you care about him, but Dick Adams forgets stuff a lot, doesn't he?
Well, he's, yes. Yeah.
I understand. I mean, no disrespect. It's just a fact of life, isn't it?
I'm seeing it through my mom.
And I appreciate that.
Last statement, somebody mind.
I said, I'm seeing, she's acting about his mind, and my mom's mind's man.
Okay.
But I mean, it's,
It's hard for it.
yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Sit down, you're free to go, or you can come back to the courtroom if you'd like. Or your next,
Your Honor, we called Linda Littlejohn.
Linda Littlejohn is who's coming up next. It's interesting to me that these particular witnesses, their stories kind of line up with each other. And we definitely, I don't feel like we saw that with the state's witnesses.
Be seated, state your name first and last, and start with the court reporter.
Linda Littlejohn.
Why is an TBI analyst
Already employed Ms. Littlejohn.
being
I'm employed
called
at
by the
Tennessee Bureau of Investigation
defense?
Crime Laboratory in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, and on April the 13th or around in there, were you involved in an investigation regarding the disappearance of Holly Bubba?
I received some evidence in April of 2011, but I did not go to the crime scene.
Okay, but you were involved in processing some of that evidence.
Yes, I was. That's
And
correct.
some of that evidence that you were involved in processing was a footprint that was found in a carport. Does that sound right?
A shoe print, yes.
Right.
Oh.
Footprint, shoe print. There's a difference.
Yes.
You're technical about it. Okay. I'd like to see Exhibit 44.
There's another hearing, Trust is Love, on the 28th and 29th, I think, of this month. We don't have an answer yet on whether he'll have a new trial. And then there's another hearing scheduled for January 6th and 7th, if necessary. So don't know at this point. They're still completing the hearing and the judge is receiving testimony.
I have here 44, 40. No. Glasses for that one. 45, 46, and 47.
Oh, absolutely. I'll make sure that we do summaries of the hearing.
The report that you did regarding exhibits 02A, 03A, 05D, and 05E, which is dated 5/25/11. Because what I've noticed in your office is you don't number your reports with a unique number. So you kind of have to go by date issued and then some side information.
Well, the lab number is on every piece of evidence in this case.
Right.
And
So do you see the report to which I am referring?
I do.
If I say those things? Okay.
Mhm.
And so did you use this photograph or similar photographs of this shoe print in order to do some comparisons?
I used different photographs than these. On the gel lifts that were used to collect these shoe prints from the crime scene, I took photographs of those, enlarged those to scale, and then I compared those with the shoes.
Okay. So that's actually more technical even than a photograph would be.
It's more technical than these photographs, yes.
Okay, yes. And then based on that, did you also then do a comparison to shoes that came from Clint Bobo?
I did.
Okay, and if we can have that large bag of materials over there, the biggest of all the bags. And in there's going to be 2 shoes.
I think those might be the Crocs that she had out earlier. Let's take a peek and see what we're going to see. Oh, ah! Ah! Gloves, gloves, gloves.
Up to you.
Oh, okay. Oh, she's got gloves on. Oh, yay. Look at that.
Okay, if you look in that bag of shoes, are those some of the shoes that you examined? Can you tell what number those?
I can identify this bag with my case number, my exhibit number, and my initials.
And what exhibit number is that? Is that
5E.
5E and D? 5E, I guess.
Just 5E.
Okay.
These are the shoes. I can
Okay.
identify.
Oh, those are not the
And so
Crocs.
did you compared those shoes with the gel shoe print that you had lifted off, or that you had been provided?
Yes.
And are those shoes consistent with making the footprint that was lifted from the floor of the carport?
They are consistent with respect to size, shape, and tread design to the lift from the carport. That means that this shoe, this is the right shoe, could have made that print or another shoe just like that. There were no individual characteristics, so I cannot say for sure that it was this shoe to the exclusion of all.
Tell me where it
Okay,
came
so
from.
By individual characteristics, you would mean if like part of the tread were cut, or if there was something that made that tread different from the mold of the tread that would have made the sole of the shoe.
Yes, when shoes are made, class characteristics are put on the shoes by the manufacturer, that size, shape, and tread design. That comes from the mold that they are made out of. As you wear the shoes, it's possible that you'll get cuts, tears, and gouges on the bottom of those shoes that make them unique to that pair of shoes. And in this case, I was not able to find any of those on the shoe or in the print to conclude that this shoe could have made it. So it's just a class characteristic match. It means that a shoe like this or another one with these same type of class characteristics could have made it.
Okay, and I'd like
By the way, Trust is Love, I don't think you were on when I had discussed this earlier when we were covering hearings and everything. But I had someone very close to Zach Adams' defense team reach out to me. So we are fully invested in Zach Adams and trying to any way we can make it more visible what has happened to him. I want to be part of that. So I don't think everybody is aware that took place. And I can't tell you who reached out to me or what was discussed, but I can tell you someone close to the defense has reached out to me. So
to pass up a report to you, see if that looks like the same report to which you've been referring.
Yes, it is a copy of my official report.
And Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to put this report into evidence.
tell me where the shoes came from. Please tell me where they came from.
You can take the shoes back from you if you
Thank you.
like. You can take the photographs back from you if you like. And on these photographs, there's also another shoe print that does not related to the shoes that you. That was a flip-flop print. Is that what you decided?
I was not able to match the additional. There were 2 additional shoe prints, and I was not able to match those to any shoes that were submitted.
You didn't actually go to the crime scene.
Further questions?
Where'd the shoes come from? Did I miss it?
You didn't actually go to the crime scene, right?
I did not.
Were you aware that there were literally hundreds of people at the crime scene by the time TDI arrived?
I've heard that. I don't know.
To your knowledge, were any other shoes from any of these hundreds of people ever submitted for comparison?
No, they were not.
Just the one pair having to do with Clint?
2 pair from Clint, and then maybe some additional that were found at different places, but not not identified from another person
Clint.
other than Clint Bobo.
Okay, so Shane Austin's shoes were never sent to you for comparison against these.
That's correct.
So it sounds like those shoes were Clint's,
All right, step down here before you go. Thank you. Oh, you're next.
and that's whose footprint was out in the dust in the carport area, which is strange to me that there wasn't more
So you just say
physical
your name, first and
evidence.
last, spell it for the benefit of the court.
First name is Amber, Amber. Last name Treat, Treat.
And how are you employed in the street?
I'm a private investigator. I work with AK Investigations.
Okay, and in this case, did you happen to drive some specific routes in Decatur County?
Yes, I drove 3 separate routes.
Okay, and will you just explain to the jury kind of which routes you drove, where you went, and why did you do this?
I drove 3 routes. One was from the Yellow Springs Church, which is at Yellow Springs Road and Pew Road. I drove that to the Tennessee River under the I-40 bridge via Ward Hill Road. And then I returned to the church at Yellow Springs Road via a different route. And then the third route that I took was the tracking of Holly Bobo's cell phone from April 13th, 2011,
Oh.
based on the opinion of John Walker, who at the time was a senior inspector for the United States Marshal Service.
Oh, tell me everything, Amber. I am all ears. Bring it. Tell me about the trip Holly's phone took. Let's do this. What are we doing? Come on. The suspense is killing me.
Yes. 1,
I believe Zach is innocent as well. And I actually will go so far as to say, based on the evidence I've seen in this trial so far, I think Terry Britt is who actually abducted, graped, and red rummed Holly Bobo. If you understand all of those code words I have to say for the YouTube land.
Okay. And did you made documentation of your routes?
I did. I measured the routes for both time and distance.
Oh, the heifer's got some business. That's what's taken so long.
Thank you.
So let's start with the first route. Each time you got to a different intersection, you made a notation of the time.
Correct. The time was kept on the stopwatch, and I lapped it each time I moved onto a new road. So the time from one road to another is notated, as is the total elapsed time.
Okay. And
Oh,
then
yeah,
if you wanted to
Jan
know
was a
how
big
long it
help.
took to get between 2 points in the route, you just have to add up the different times to the different intersections. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And those were, you drove 3 different routes based on the directions that I gave you.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, we'd like to put those into evidence.
Are there, did you say she did it 3 times?
There's 3 different routes, yes, Your
All
Honor.
right, are all of them on one?
No, there's 3 different
All right,
sets.
that's what I need to know.
And we have the map pre-done, so there's no map drawing. Okay.
Exhibit 236, 237, 238.
Be the first one. Springs Church.
Yes.
All right, tell us what you know. Spill it, girl. Spill it.
First one. So we look at this first report right here.
Why don't you go ahead and get us split vote?
Show me.
Yellow Springs Church.
Show
Duck Farm
me.
Road to Duck Road to McElwain Road. Is that right?
Yes, Yellow Springs Church to Duck Farm Road, Duck Farm to Duck Road to McElwain, McElwain to Old Highway 69, Old Highway 69 to Sugar Tree School Road, Sugar Tree School Road to North Morgan Creek, North Morgan Creek Road to Birdsong Road, and then Birdsong Road to Ward Hill Road. And then you access the river via a private route, which you cannot see on the map.
Okay. And then you've pre-marked a map here on your route on how you went. Is that right?
That's correct.
I like it.
Then the next one that goes from the Tennessee River back to Yellow Springs Methodist Church. What route did you take there?
For that, I started at the Tennessee River, the same location I ended on the first route. And I took the access road to Ward Hill Road. And instead of turning right, I went straight on Ward Hill, turned onto Nick's Landing Road, Nick's Landing to North Morgan Creek Road, North Morgan Creek to Sugar Tree School Road, Sugar Tree School Road to Old Highway 69, Old Highway 69 to McElwain Road to Duck Road to Duck Farm Road, across the Pew, and then back to the church.
Okay. And how long did that route take you to come back?
That took approximately 32 minutes.
And the first route you took. Technical problems. I think I did it with my foot. Okay.
How long did the first
Route going there, how long did that take you?
The route going out there took approximately 26 minutes.
26? That's what I was just going to ask.
And then you also drove a route, kind of tracking a possible route of Holly's telephone pings that morning. Is that
Oh,
right?
please. This I want to
How long
know.
did it take you to do that route total?
That route total was approximately 43 minutes.
Okay, no further questions.
Oh, go back. You,
Approximately 43
the
minutes.
most important part, good Jennifer, you clicked right over. She didn't even go down all the different roads that this is. There's a reason there are so many different roads. It's because whoever had Holly's phone was trying to stay away from any heavily traveled passways. Look at all the different roads. 5 Forks to Sam Adams. I'm going to have to come back to this and do a screenshot because I want to map this bad boy out myself. Sorry, I thought there was an emergency with my work, but there's not. Yeah, I want to see what this route is based on the cell phone data. Oh, I'm going to put a little time stamp on this because I am definitely going to do this map. Okay, sorry.
Okay, no further questions.
Say crop,
Really quick, just really quick.
right up or down?
Doesn't matter, they can stay down. It's gonna take 2 or 3 minutes. Are You following traffic laws when you're driving?
As best I could. I did not actually see any speed limit signs on any of the roads that I traveled.
If you were, there's no precedent.
That would be typical in Tennessee.
Is it fair to say that you weren't, as the expression goes, driving like a bat out of hell, trying to escape from something?
I would say I was driving the route to get a time.
Excuse me?
I was just driving the route to get a general time
Is that,
from point A to point B.
So were you trying to follow traffic laws? That's all I'm asking. Were you driving as absolutely fast as you could, like a race car driver?
No,
Or were
sir.
you driving like a normal person?
Why
Say
would
we're driving like
someone
normal.
be driving fast? They wouldn't want to call attention.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said that was all that triggered something, you got some more questions? So that is all, okay. Anything
Oh,
else?
whispering rocks. Come on now.
Your Honor, that's our last witness we have today.
All right, we're gonna get you out of here early, it's warming up. We're in good shape time-wise. I hope you can take my word for it. I'm not gonna jinx it, I tell you, telling you when I think you'll get it, structured deliberations, but, we're moving along fairly well.
Closing in on it, sir.
I gave you the first day. We also listed in your notebook. We'll continue this case in the morning, and I feel certain we'll have the proof completed. I'm hopeful that we can get closing arguments and get further than that, but I feel certain that we'll have the proof concluded. Is that a fair guess tomorrow? They're saying, but don't hold us to it. It's a very important case. I try to allow both sides the liberty to try their case with their techniques as they felt they are legal.
Really? Because it doesn't feel that way
So,
from
I hear
watching
watching
it.
Sometimes it's hard for me, but I want them to be able to fully explore their cases. So I don't want to jinx it, but we're getting to where we need to be. It's also warmed up considerably in here, although it's been better today so far. So follow that admonition.
Okay. We're going to Scooby Doo on over to the next day, which is day 9. See, we got through day 8 already.
Yes, at that time
I
I was.
am going to get us all hooked up here. I have no idea who. Oh, I actually do. So let me get the closed caption going. How are you feeling about these witnesses that we're seeing so far? For the defense, anyway. I felt like we took a meandering road with the prosecution, and I feel a little better with the defense's presentation. It seems a little more logical to me. Things are starting to match up better. I don't know why that is. I don't know if I'm just changing from watching so many cases that I understand how a defense operates better now. But to me, it seems like it makes more sense. And KS Granny, what my intention is when we complete all of this, we're not going to be done with Zach Adams and the Holly Bobo Red Rum. I'm going to do some additional deep dive into several different things. That's why I say this case alone might take us into the new year. So we will definitely get all of the information. I want to get the route that they took, and then I want to show you all what that route is. And I can tell you I did some digging today on my lunch, and the location of Victor Dinsmore there I am. I thought they were on the same side of I-40. They were not. They're on opposite sides. So Dinsmore's place is on one side, and then you have to cross I-40 to get to where the tower is, where her remains were found. So I want to compare what that Holly list is compared to who may have been driving that, and based on what proximity it is to different residences. I think we'll all be enlightened with that information. All right. I hope that answers your question. Yes, I want to do that. I want us to review all of Terry Dykes's testimony from the hearing. We may go back if I can find the February hearings, any of the testimony from the February hearings. I'll do some digging and see what I can find on all of the post-conviction relief hearings as well. All right, here we go. This is John Walker, U.S. Marshal.
Yes, at that time I was on the FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force, and they sent many people over to assist the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in the location of Holly Bobo.
Okay, so tell us, just give us some general background information as to what are some of the tasks that you were asked to do regarding the investigation.
We followed numerous leads. We interviewed numerous individuals that were potential suspects on calls that we'd gotten in, and we followed leads of that nature for quite some time, for several
Okay, and
weeks.
did you in fact actually find some evidence in this case?
Yes, I did.
And what was that regarding? What evidence was that?
I found Holly's notebook.
And how did you come to find Holly's notebook?
I had looked at some initial cell phone information, and it looked like the termination was near the creek on Gooch Road.
When you say termination, what do you mean? by
The end
termination?
of where the phone had traveled, where
Okay.
the phone had traveled. And I was thinking, I said the person might have thrown more items in that area. I learned that her lunchbox was found in the creek. It had the strap of it hung on a stick that was sticking out of the culvert, a big 4-foot culvert, corrugated culvert, and there was a stick sticking out, and the lunchbox strap had caught on that. And I thought there may be more large items, and I asked TBI if I could go look in that creek.
Okay.
Myself and Senior Inspector Tom Bach went down to that area, and within probably 20 minutes, I found her notebook. It was about 75 yards down the creek, around about 2 bends, and about 3/4 of the way up where there had been a large rain, and it had washed up into the kind of like the brush on the side of the creek. And I noticed it was hers because it was black and in the brush, and it had holly on it. And I called, at that moment, I called TBI, didn't touch it, called TBI, and they came over and collected it.
Okay, and did the TBI, you mentioned that you'd done some preliminary cell phone work. Will you
Yes.
tell the jury, how is it that you came to do preliminary cell phone work?
During the first parts of the investigation, we know from her mother that her phone was with her. Her mother said it was probably in her back pocket. And John Mayer, he was the former supervisor and now retired with TBI, asked us if we could look at her cell record and map her phone.
Okay, and who was it that asked you to do that?
John Mayer,
And what was John Mayer's role in the TBI investigation?
he was a supervisor
And supervisor, do you know who supervisor he was specifically?
over Terry Dykes over the investigation. I didn't really know Terry Dykes at that time.
And so just, will you please give us some background? I know that the Marshal Service has some secrets about how they use cell phone, but give us some background, just as some of your general training with cellular telephones and what your experience is with them.
I've worked with cell phones for a number of years, and I understand how cell phone technology works, especially on this type of system. I can't really get into the details of that. So.
Okay, and your training, you've had your training all through the Marshal Service, is that right?
Cell phone usage since probably about 99.
Since 99? Okay, and that's something you use on a very regular basis?
I used to. In the last few years, we do tracking data, but I was
So, but in 2011,
I'm not authorized to answer that kind of
okay,
question.
right? But in 2011, you were using cellular telephone on a regular basis, cellular telephone technology, is that right?
Most of my experience was from 99 through about 2007.
Okay,
But it's the same kind of information. So
I'm sorry.
it's the same kind of information.
Okay, and the cellular telephone network that we were talking about, can you tell us what kind of level or generation in 2011 the Decatur area cellular telephone network was?
It's a 2G network.
Was it what?
2G network.
Okay, so 2G network.
Your Honor, if defense is going to try and use him as an expert cell phone, I think we need to hear that before we like to board our that's your attention.
Okay, yes, I'd like to use him as a cell phone expert, Your Honor.
Board here.
And what kind of training have you had specifically?
A little training back. We didn't really have an official course back when I started. It was more of like we would have classes from time to time that we learned.
That everybody would go to,
No,
just you would go to.
I did this for the Eastern District of Texas for about 6
Okay,
years.
so what training is specifically?
Mostly on job training.
I'm sorry,
On job training
and when was that?
from 99 to 2006.
99 to,
1999 to 2006.
yeah, on the job training,
Yes.
is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, have you ever been tendered as an expert and testified in court
No,
as a
I've
phone
not.
expert?
No.
The Marshal Service does an incredible job at finding people, and that's your right. I mean, if you had to put a big umbrella, I know you do other things, but that's what you do, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure you're very good at your job, but you don't consider yourself to be an expert in phone analysis, do you?
That is a very complicated subject.
Sure.
It's much more complicated than a 2G subject.
Okay, and so my question is, that would be a yes. I mean, you're not used by the Marshal Service.
No, I'm not.
In phone.
No.
Your Honor, based on that,
I'd like a chance to. So part of your job that they hired you to do, as part of what the Marshal Service does, is the Marshal Service is tasked with finding fugitives. Isn't that one of the things that the United States Marshal Service does?
Yes.
And in order to find fugitives, the United States Marshal Service uses numerous resources to hunt down people. don't
Yes,
they?
that's correct.
And these fugitives might be people that have escaped from prisons.
Let her go.
people that have escaped from prison. Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Or it might be people that.
Why
are
does
wanted on
anyone
warrants to
sitting
be
at the
arrested.
prosecution table have the
And
ability
so
to
at one point you were
object?
living in Eastern
I don't
District of Texas,
understand.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then
Where's
you
the
were assigned
protocol?
To the fugitive unit. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I was the warrant coordinator for the district and I ran the fugitive task force.
And so on a day-to-day basis, it was part of your job requirement to find people that were trying to hide.
Correct.
And one of the ways that you would do this on a regular basis.
And I object to the leading. She's doing a great job of it.
I'm for hiring, Your
I'm for
Honor.
hiring, you still ask an open-ended question.
So as.
Ma'am.
So one of the ways that you would, one of the ways you would do this. you have
Wow.
Technical information that you would use to track people's cell phones. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And the Marshal Service, how do they feel about letting out their technical secrets to the world as to how it is they track people on their cell phone?
She's doing it on purpose because she knows bad Jennifer is who I'm talking about, the heifer. She is making these objections and saying things the way that she's saying them because she knows it rattles good Jennifer. And that is exactly why she's doing it. Oh my gosh. This is literally like my sister has a 10th degree black belt in this, in knowing exactly what it is to set you off, what trigger it is. And I'm like watching it. That's why I get so heated about it, because I know what this feels like to be on the receiving end of it. And it is so frustrating. And it literally, your brain stops working the way that it normally does when something like this happens. And I cannot believe she said she's doing a great job of, ma'am, there is no need for dialogue like that. He must have very, very important testimony because they're wigging out about him actually testifying. Sorry, I just had to add my 2 cents about all of this.
I'm not allowed.
You're not allowed to tell that. But that was still part of what you did on a regular basis.
Correct.
Okay. And so you maintained that job for several years, right? Fugitive?
Yes, I was a warrant coordinator for about 6 years.
And were you good or bad at your job?
I was very good at my job.
Very good.
Yes.
Okay. And so while you might not be an expert in setting up cellular telephone networks or how networks work, you were an expert in finding people using their phones, weren't you?
Yes.
And you had training in that area. You said on-the-job training. What does it mean to get on-the-job training?
You would work with somebody that's an electronic surveillance person.
Okay, and so what would they do to give you on-the-job training, like specifically? Are they showing you how to use
Yes,
maps?
explain systems, how to read systems, how to understand the technology.
And then at some point you transferred to the Western District of Tennessee. Is that right?
I actually work for the U.S. Tactical Operations Division. I actually work for headquarters. I don't work for Western Tennessee.
I just can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually work for the Tactical Operations Division, the U.S. Marshals. I don't work for the Western District of Tennessee.
Okay, so you don't work. You work for the Tactical Operations Division.
Yes, I work for headquarters.
Okay, but you live in Western Tennessee.
I live in Western Tennessee.
And so, what is your job description as Tactical Operations?
I work for the Strategic National Stockpile Program and a liaison to the CDC. I spent 9 years in the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
Okay.
This is Center for Disease Control. So.
And so you even gave advice to the TBI agents in this case as to how to use the cellular phone and how to track.
That's correct.
And it's the TBI, and more specifically, John Mayer, you said, that asked you to come in and provide your expertise to help them track this cell phone. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
You didn't volunteer. They said, hey, listen, we want to send you some data and see what you can tell us back.
Correct.
Isn't that right?
Yes.
So,
That they gave us the cell tower dumps, as they call them. That's all the AT&T and Verizon cell information on Excel spreadsheets.
so that tells you, so what, one of the things they gave you when you say cell tower dumps, that means they take all the information, like where a tower is located, how strong the signal is, which direction the 3 little antennas are pointing. They gave you all that information. Is that right?
Correct.
And then they provided you with information about Holly Bobo cellular telephone. Yes, we are, because this is actually a state's witness, Your Honor. The state is the one that chose this person.
I think you called
No, but the state's the one that, in the investigation,
Makes no
chose him.
difference, okay?
Witnesses are witnesses. But when she finishes with her report, I have a few more very important pointed questions about this.
Okay.
And so based on all of your experience, you were able to come in and look at the cellular telephone information they gave you, weren't you?
I did that, but I also would ask questions to people in my agency, with the FBI also, and with AT&T if I had any follow-up questions.
Um,
I'll also add, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've ever seen a court voir dire a witness to determine whether they can be testifying as an expert in front of a jury. Now, please tell me if I am wrong and that's just how it's always done. Please correct me in the chat, send me a comment, do whatever you need to do to get me the message. But I did not think that was something that typically took place in front of the jury, because then it becomes prejudicial based on how the judge rules on it. So I remember Dr. Marie Russell having to go through extensive voir dire about her qualifications without the jury present. So this is weird to me.
She was asking questions of the experts.
I wanted to verify what I knew.
But are we still
Your Honor,
there?
at this point,
I have some more questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, the U.S. Marshal Service has a.
He's not going to rule him as an expert.
Well,
So
you're not
you
part
know
of it.
that, bad
Never
Jennifer.
had it.
So sit your
I've never heard of that group that did
heifer
that for
fat
the Eastern
butt
District of Texas
down.
during those years, because we didn't have an electronic surveillance person.
The answer to my question is yes.
Yes, I'm not a part of
Right.
the
And
the
we're not a
top.
part of that in 2011.
Why you got to get up all in his
Last
business?
On the job training that you had would have been in
Ma'am.
2006, correct?
Correct.
And you have
Get
to agree
your
with Shirley
booty
that between
back.
2006 and 2011, there were vast changes to cell phone technology.
This is a 2G network. There was no changes.
So you would not agree with me.
Oh, there's vast changes, absolutely, but not
Yeah.
not on these these towers.
And I appreciate you adding, because you want to testify as an expert today, don't you?
No, I just want to explain to you what I know.
So would you consider, do you call yourself an expert in phones?
No, I did not.
Judge, even he doesn't, he knows he's not an expert.
first of all,
You're
Your
offering
Honor,
him as an expert.
he doesn't even have to be an expert to testify what he did.
Explaining
Okay, so he
Your
doesn't,
offer as an expert. He can testify
Fine.
generally as to what he did in this case, such as finding a notebook or whatever.
Told you.
By his own admission, he is not a cellular phone expert.
He can
She
testify though as to what he did
is
in the
a level
investigation as far
of
as looking at the phone
snark
data.
that
That's
I
something
can
that he does
hardly
as a fact
bear.
witness. He doesn't have to give an opinion. He can just
He can
say,
explain what he
he
did
did.
in response to what he found.
and what he was asked to do by the TBI.
He will not be allowed to express opinion.
Okay,
I
no
found
opinions.
He's not an expert in this area. He's certainly an expert in some areas, but not this
You
area.
know, it's ironic that the TBI called him in to do cell
Let's not
phones and
argue in
now.
front of the jury, please. Okay?
What?
Yes.
You're the one that
So
did
at
this.
some point, did the TBI ask?
Sir. Oh, sir. You. Oh my gosh, my head's going to explode. You are the one that chose to argue this in front of the jury. You got to be kidding me. Judge McGinley, we need to have a conversation. And you've taken me yet again to Tales of the Bizarro World. We're a little further in. It's about an hour in tonight before we hit the Tales of Bizarro World. But you don't want to argue this in front of the jury, then you shouldn't have had the jury there. I'm pretty sure it's your court to do what you want.
You to look at the cellular data information or phone records of Holly Bobo.
Yes, I did.
And did you look at that information?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then at some point, did you work with Terry Dykes on that?
Yes, I did.
And together with other people, you developed a map, did you not, of Holly's cellular telephone?
Yes.
Judge,
Rouse?
this will be
All
the
right,
conclusion for the
this is
case.
outside his area. Let's go.
Well, Your Honor, at this point, then I'd like to make an offer.
All right, take the jury out, please.
Well, that's what you should have done in the first place, numbnuts. What a dimwit. Why does he always make good Jennifer? Let's go. Hurry it along. Let's pick up the pace. Why is it always a hurry for her? But bad Jennifer? Oh
And what did
shoot.
you advise the TBI? Chris? How do they feel about?
I
letting
hit
out
the
their
wrong
technical
button.
secrets
I
to
am
the world?
so sorry.
Follow-up questions.
Okay. Cellular data information.
I have
phone records,
completely
Holly
messed
Bobo.
us.
That information.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then at some point, did you work with Terry Dykes on that?
Yes, I did.
Telephone. At this point, then I'm.
Okay, I got us back. I'm sorry. I bumped the freaking feed. I'm so I'm frazzled.
They say they followed the map, but he doesn't have the expertise to say that cell towers dictated that the phone was here, 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 or here. Okay?
I'm going to have him testify to that because that's what he did for the TBI. The TBI asked him to come in and
Do your offer,
give her
please.
opinion. So what is it that, what information did you start with when you were working for the TBI regarding
The
cellular?
overlay map that AT&T provided and the cell tower information off of the Excel spreadsheets. It showed terminating phone number, Holly's number, and the
They do not want
location,
this
tower
evidence
location.
in.
These are 4 number towers. 5th number is the cell section of the 3 sections. These are 3 section towers in this area.
It ultimately
And
didn't
so
matter,
with that
but
information, then what did you do next?
I plotted out on a map where these towers were, the cell sections with the overlay map, and a general idea of where her phone was at specific times in these cell sections. Like because you can look on the Excel spreadsheet, it will tell you terminating number, her phone number, and AT&T can tell you which column to look into the location.
Okay.
And you just follow that location and you plot out on a map and you plot out where her phone was at 8 o'clock, 8:11, 8:16, 8:26. Then the ping data overlaps on top of that AT&T did, and you can get a general idea how her phone traveled through the northwestern part of Decatur County.
Okay, and so do you have a map that you did?
Yes, I did this map and it was done in 2012.
Yeah, I'd like to see the map, and I'd like to show it to the state, because I want to put this in as an offer proof also. The state has this map, smaller form. Okay. And I'd like to have this map marked as an exhibit.
Might be a different 239 might be passing through, so it's offer proof.
I have no idea, Melissa. I truly believe this jury already had their mind made up before they ever
Pass
heard
the map
any
back to
evidence.
you.
They'd have
And
to
there's
have.
some handwritten points on this map. Let's see, I think at some point you had reported where Terry Britt's house is. Can you point that out?
It's right here.
How did I do this? So the prosecutor can see at the same time.
And of course, let's not
I
forget,
know the map, so.
the jury is not present
So you
right
can
now.
show them the map. I know the map. If you ask
Okay.
me, I'll have to look at it.
I'll point it out from here. Here, I'll see it. So here is Terry Britt's
Yes.
house, where you marked his home, isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so when you were doing this route, let's just start down here. This is the Bobo home.
Yes, that's the mobile home on Swan Johnson Road.
Okay. And so from the Bobo home, then, how did you determine which direction Holly's phone traveled?
You can look in the way the cell towers hit. She hits on the northern side of the Darden Road Tower at
Okay.
8 o'clock and 8:11. At 8:16, she's on the south side of the Shallow Road Tower.
Now, where's the Shiloh Road Tower? Is that up
You can
here?
see the 816 hit right there,
So the Shiloh Road Tower
Yes.
is right over
right there.
here.
That's where Shallow Road Tower, but it comes into that cell section at 8:16.
Okay.
So you know that the information is going forward. I also, AT&T also provided information that I worked with them on using Holly's phone. Instead of just an overlay map, we used Holly's phone to kind of get an idea of what towers it would be talking to at any one time.
Okay.
So AT&T provided
Now,
that
tell
information.
me, how did you do that? What do you mean about what towers you'd be talking to at any one time?
It's just like they take Holly's phone and we drove around and kind of mapped which towers it would communicate with.
Let me find for you that.
It's interesting, when I looked at the map on my lunch today, the route that they're showing is exactly the route that I plotted when I looked at it.
A drive map that I had it marked for identification yesterday. Talking about, but when I had it marked for identification yesterday.
She's fussing around there. I'm going to
So this is 218.
flippity flip.
So when you say that you had it, you drove around with your phone, is this what you're talking about?
Yes, that's it.
Now, were you with them when they drove around and did this?
Yes.
So you were actually in the car as this?
I was in the
map
back.
being
I was in the back
created?
seat taking notes.
Okay. And you were invited by the TBI to do that?
Yes, I was.
So using that map, and then did you also use this?
Yeah, that's the overlay map that AT&T provided.
So
That
you,
shows cell towers and cell stations in different colors. It's 3-sided towers.
okay. And so using those materials, how did you then make your determination as to, so you knew,
You take the Excel spreadsheets provided by AT&T, and you look at the terminating number, her number, the number that was called, and in the column, you compare it to the column where the cell tower is, such as the Darden Road Tower. If you were going down the bottom of the map, it goes from Darden Road Tower Section 1 into the south side of Shallow Road Tower Section 2, and then it goes up into this area. It goes into the number 1 section of Shallow Road Tower.
so this is the number 1 section of the Shiloh Road
Yes, that's
Tower
1,
up
2,
here.
and 3 is over here. That's number
So-
1 section.
At first, she's hitting
And if you
down
look
here,
at, yes.
and then you know if she's hitting up here, she had to have traveled on some road.
Well, the phone hits 3 times headed that direction. Ping data is in that area.
Okay,
Ping data is different than a cell phone hit.
okay, and so explain to us how the ping data is different.
That's when the AT&T sends out a signal to these towers to talk to the phone.
Okay, and the ping data, is it simply a dot with a circle drawn around it, or is it something more than that? Does it relate to a sector?
I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know if I'm authorized to answer that, how that works.
Well, we can ask
Oh.
for, we can,
Okay.
yes, you're authorized. to
Yeah,
answer.
I'm sorry, she just answered, yes, you're authorized.
he gave it a nod. I have an AUSA. I have an AUSA that's monitoring my
Yeah, I
conversation.
just didn't see that he was apparently motioning from behind.
Do you have an attorney here today? Is that right?
That's Assistant United States Attorney, so.
And he's here to guide you on what you're authorized to answer and
Yes,
not answer. Okay.
yes.
So the ping data, it has,
What he's saying is he doesn't want to breach some place of confidentiality.
Exactly.
so this,
Your
ping data,
Honor,
how is it that you?
there's no
interpret ping data?
jury.
A ping data is a distance off of the tower.
Yes.
It's by signal strength. It can be anywhere. It's not necessarily a circled spot. It's actually a spot that's a distance off of the tower based on signal strength. And AT&T can tell you that, but it's more of an arch around distance off the tower in that section. It's anywhere in that section, a certain distance off all the way around.
Okay.
And you have to, and it depends on the quality and number of towers and that, to how wide that margin of error is in that kind of a band that runs around.
Okay.
Because it can be narrow and it can be quarter mile wide.
So at some point, there's a ping. Do you know what time the ping was that was, you say there's a ping that was in this?
It's sometime around 8:52, 8:53. I don't know. I had to look at my notes for sure.
Okay. So there's a ping, and that ping isn't just anywhere with a circle drawn around it. You're saying that ping is coming off of this particular quadrant
Yes.
of this is the Shiloh Tower. Is that
Shallow
right?
Road Tower, Section 1.
Now that's not the same tower where her body is found over here, is it?
No, that's where her body was found.
Okay. Her body's found. What tower was her body found? in?
Shallow Road Tower, Section 1.
No, where was her body found? Not what was it hitting off of?
Oh, no. See that dot where your finger is?
Yes.
It's right in that area right there. There's a Verizon tower see at the bottom of that X, that one X? That's a Verizon tower. She was found just north of that tower.
But that tower wasn't a factor in the
No,
tower
it was
search?
not. No.
Okay, so then how do you then start moving this direction? Why did you decide that her phone moved this direction?
It's because it goes into that area and it stays about 25 minutes.
Which area does it stay 25 minutes?
Into this Shallow Road Section 1. It goes in there, stays about 25 minutes.
This section one right here?
Oh.
The one- Yeah, that section right there.
Okay.
It goes into that section, stays about 25 minutes.
Yes.
And then it starts moving east because it starts pinging off of the Cox Road Tower at 902, 906.
Now the Cox Road Tower,
If you'll go
it
slide over.
is over, it's over right here, is
Right.
that right?
Yes.
This is so much more
It has a couple
informative
pings
than
over
what
there.
we
The
saw
902 is further
before.
away than the 906 hit, so it shows that the phone is moving toward the tower.
Okay. Okay, so you have the phone moving towards the tower. And then how do you get this little trail down here?
There is another hit off of the Cox Road Tower. Not the, I think it's the second section. I have to look at it for sure, but it's off another section. You can see that line right there by your finger. That's where the two sections break. And that is on another section of the Cox Road Tower.
So this is where the Cox Road Tower breaks right here,
Yes, that line right through there breaks.
right along this line.
Right.
Okay,
And there is a margin of error in there, a little distance between, sections are not exactly on the money. There is an overlay a little bit.
so you're saying that you could be hitting on both either Cox Road 2 section or Cox Road 3 and still be right in the middle where it
Right.
bleeds.
Right, exactly.
And so,
And then there's a Parsons section, I believe it's section 3, there's a ping off of that one. And it goes, that's more down toward where I believe to be at the Creek at Gooch Road.
and you have that the Parsons Tower is actually off of your map in this direction.
Yes,
Gooch Road.
that's
Okay,
also a
so-
ping.
What is this right here, this mark?
That's the Creek at Gooch Road.
Okay,
And I have that in there, that little area in there, because when you do the drive time, that's about where you're at. You're in between that. You're right in that area when you do a drive time
Okay.
on this map.
So what you did is you
925.
looked at where her pings were, and then you looked at, as you're driving, what towers you're hitting.
Yes, because it was originally thought that her phone had went west. But if you drive west, 816, you're really going to be on the Darden Road to the Huma Tower. So it's very clear that her phone went straight north.
So,
And if you were to go east at any point, you would be on the Parsons Tower 816. So it becomes very clear that at 8 o'clock her phone's Darden Road, 811 Darden Road, and 816 it's in the Shallow Road section. And the Shallow Road section, there's a lot of two other towers that kind of cover the east and west. So you know it goes straight north.
so you know it goes straight north, because if it had gone any this direction, you'd be hitting this Darden Road Tower right here, which
Yes,
is this.
and actually there's
green
another
color.
tower over there that's called the Huma Tower. It's a very powerful tower.
Where's
but
the
you can't-
Huma Tower? Is it?
It's in the north or west area.
So it's further west
Yeah,
from.
it's on the freeway. It's further northwest. It's a very powerful tower that if you get anywhere near that, it picks you up.
Okay, so you know she's not going west because she doesn't hit the Darden Tower and she doesn't hit the Huma Tower.
Exactly.
And so that's how you know she's going mostly north
Yes.
on her phone. And then based on this, did you actually tell did you advise the TBIs where to be looking for her body?
Yes.
And where did you advise the TBI to be looking for her body?
Near the freeway. This
Near
is in
the freeway.
2000, late 2011, 2012. I asked numerous times to Agent Dicus, how well did you search north of the freeway?
And
Numerous
you
times.
specifically north of the freeway?
Absolutely.
Because that's where her body
Wow.
is. And then when it turns out, and these red dots here that you have outlined on this map, what are these red dots represent?
Those
Wow.
red dots I put on there because I didn't have a way to kind of overlay it. That's just areas you should search. Those are roads. And I put primary, first, second area in 2012. And I made this map. This is where you should search off of these roads.
You made this map before they found her body.
Yes, a couple of years before.
Well, obviously, but the red marks and everything. I mean, you didn't go back and put down, this was,
I added two things to the map from the original creation.
Wow.
Of, Terry Britt's home sometime in 2013. And I added a dot
Are
where you pointed your finger where her remains were found. I added that in
are y'all shocked
October 2014.
with this?
okay. But these red marks and stuff, this
Evidence
advice
and
of where you should
testimony?
search for her body,
Yes,
all of that.
I put this on a map in 2012 on a map about 3 foot square for
Yes.
Terry Dicus. And it was in the file as far as I knew.
And said, search along these red dots for her body.
Yes.
That's where her body most likely is going to be. Okay. Your Honor, that's all from my.
Just a couple. You would agree with me that the drive test that you guys did, where you jumped in the backseat of the AT&T, that was an incomplete drive test. Y'all didn't drive all the roads.
I had one I had one follow-up, but yes, I drew the roads that matched the cell phone information off of the Excel spreadsheet.
So that's a yes. The drive test was incomplete. You guys didn't.
No, it
drive
was
all
not
the-
complete.
All right. And then the next thing I have is
Did
that,
you say no, it was not incomplete?
No, no, I was satisfied with the drive test.
so he does not agree with that. The drive test was incomplete. And I know.
I did have one follow-up, but
Stop testifying, bad Jennifer.
Not an expert. I think I know what you were talking about, but it sounded as though you were implying that you drove around with Holly's phone.
no.
Right. You said we drove around with the phone. You weren't driving around with Holly's phone.
Mhm.
Correct?
Can I answer that? There was 4 exact copies of Collie's phone based on cell wattage, model, make,
I understand. But you weren't driving around with Holly's phone. That's all
No.
I'm trying to clear up.
not Holly's phone.
That's all. I have.
Ma'am,
Oh, well, except for this report that we all have now of your findings regarding the phones, you did not make that report until after Holly's remains were found.
What are you saying?
We have a report from you, and it says, abduction investigation of
Okay,
Holly
okay.
Bobo is your report. It talks about cell towers. And even though you said the following information was provided to TPI during the first 2 years of the abduction investigation, descriptive maps were provided. So that makes it sound like this report was turned over in the first
The
2
map
years.
was given to TBI, yes.
So my question was, you didn't do this big report. I know you turned over a map. You
Did you
said,
pass in the report?
he said he's familiar with
I'm
it.
familiar with it. I reminded TBI that there was a map in that file.
My question is, you didn't do this report until after Holly was found.
After remains found, yes, because I was concerned about that there's a map in the file that shows where her remains should be located. I was
My
concerned about
question
that.
was, you didn't do this report until after her remains were found.
Right, because I was reminding TBI where her remains found. There's a map in the file.
And of course, you weren't the only one. You know that Special Agent Gazelle was also telling TBI to look in the same area, correct?
I didn't know that.
Okay. But you relied heavily upon FBI behavioral analyst who said 2 or 3 different things, and y'all were sort of going off of that information.
I didn't really believe that in the beginning, but it matched the phone tracking.
You didn't believe it in the beginning?
No, because the FBI person said that she was killed within the first hour within 5 miles of the house. And I didn't understand that at the time.
Gotcha. Thank you.
so Mavhawk 11, your question, this guy knew where her body was before the cops. No, what he is testifying to is that he instructed the TBI to be looking in these specific areas where he believed, based on cell phone data, where it was a strongest probability that she would be found. And lo and behold, he was right. And yeah, I want to fix his collar and tie too. I'm trying not to look at it, but it's distracting. I get it.
When you said, just regarding Holly's phone, there were 4 phones that were the identical model as Holly's phone that you were in the car using to see which tower they hit off as you drove all the back roads.
Yes,
And then
AT&T set that up. I just assisted one with AT&T.
right. Also, for the record, Your Honor, as we were going through that, I was referring to, was it 218? The 218, the full drive time map, and then the newest map that he provided, that Mr. Walker provided, as I was pointing to different areas.
That's 239.
239. Okay. At this time, Your Honor, I'd like for the court to reconsider admitting him or authorizing him as an expert witness after he's testified.
Jury is not present.
He has, by his own admission, said he is not an expert in cellular phone. Just as far as testifying, he can testify generally to what he did as far as his work on this case, but he is not qualified as a cell phone expert. So he can offer evidence along those lines.
So he cannot
He
testify
can express his opinion on that.
before the jury as to what he's just testified to. Okay.
All right, let's bring Drew back in.
So, my fellow jurors here on Ms. Demeanor's channel, do we understand?
Yes. Mr. Walker, at some point were you asked to go interview Terry Britt?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And
All of that, I just have to pause again. All of that information, which was very clear and concise compared to this craziness that happened when the prosecution put their case forward, and it's this circle and that, this is Zach's phone, and this is Holly's phone, and this is Dylan's phone, and this is Shane's phone. Like, I was like, what is even happening right now when that testimony was coming in? This was very clear and concise, but of course, we got to hear it. The jury never did. Yeah, Kat, exactly. Bulldoze the whole court. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We know what we're doing. We're making sure that this young man gets convicted. And they did. And he did. And shouldn't have.
can you tell us when that occurred?
I believe it was in March 2013.
Okay. And will you tell the jury then who asked you and kind of what happened from there?
In March of 2013, Agent Dicus called me. I had not worked in the case for a few months. He called me and said, he asked me if I could do a favor. He asked if I could go and interview Terry Britt in jail. He was in jail over near Fort Pillow. I think it's Western Tennessee Penitentiary. And he said that I could.
Jack, you're saying what Agent
Okay.
Dicus told you.
So
Okay.
just after that, what did you do next then?
After I was asked,
Yeah.
I went and interviewed him in jail.
Okay. So tell us about that.
I like after
that
I was
conversation.
asked.
What happened then?
We went into an interview room, and I was, just to give context, I was there just to ask if he wanted to talk about where Holly's remains were and kind of maybe some type of deal about where her body was. And they put us in a room, it's probably 10-foot wide by 20-foot wide room, had a big window on one end with a door going in. I went in, Mr. Britt was already in there, and I said immediately to him, I'm here to talk about, I'm John Walker with U.S. Marshals. He knows who I am, because I've spoken to him before. And told him who I was, and said, I'm here to talk about Holly Bobo. He made the comment, I don't know who that is. And I said, well, you don't know her, but you know her cousin Natalie. And he sat down at the table. There was a table between us, and I sat down on this side. I said, I was sent over here by Agent Dicus to see if you wanted to work out some kind of possibly deal about locating her remains, because the family needs some kind of closure in this case. They didn't know what happened to their daughter. He started complaining about that his wife, Jan, that he wasn't able to talk to her, that they had TBI had where he couldn't communicate with his wife. And I said, well, I thought that was unusual, that I would talk to TBI about it. We discussed, I didn't ask anything about what he's in custody for, other than I said, I know there's some charges on you. One of them can carry a lot of time. We didn't discuss a penitentiary type times. What was discussed is that he was concerned about his wife being charged in one of the cases, because I thought there was pending charges coming on her. And he was concerned about, he wanted to be in a different jail. He did not like the jail over there. He said there was a lot of young black guys that were very loud, and he wanted to be over in near Nashville in an older white jail. He didn't seem to mind being in jail. So I said,
I don't
well, I said,
mind
I'm
that
gonna tell
he's
you
in
what we
jail.
know in the case from beginning to end, what the evidence has kind of shown. And I went to explain that to him. And I said, I know you're a sociopath, and I know you have an issue with women. There's no doubt about it. And I understand why you would find Holly Bobo attractive and want her. He just sat there and kind of nodded. I then went into, I said, I'm going to tell you what we believe happened. I said, we think that you saw Holly at the dollar store with Natalie probably about 3 weeks before you started following her. We know you follow other women. And I think what we think that you started figuring out her timeline and followed her home, started paying attention to the vehicles, that you got there probably around 7:30 that morning, and you know all the back roads very well. We know that. And that you were in the woods.
How did you know that about the back roads?
A friend had told me that all he ever did was drive around.
Oh, he knew the roads very well when he testified.
Could I object to anything a friend or anybody else,
Okay.
other than Mr. Britt, told him?
Yes. yes,
I
ma'am.
wasn't. trying
He's
to-
already
I just asked
testified that he did
about
that.
him knowing the back roads. That's all.
Pipe down,
Okay. And
mean,
I said, what you did was you got there around
nasty
7:30 that morning.
Jennifer.
You noticed that her mother's car was gone. You noticed her father's car was gone, and you thought Clint Bobo's car was gone, but it was actually in a garage out back. I said, you know, Holly comes out at 7:45. I said, you positioned yourself to grab her when she came out. She fought with you for about 45 seconds because Mr. Barnes, the next door neighbor, heard you fighting for about 45 seconds. And he heard it. So, and I said, then you squatted down underneath the patio with her after fighting with her. You probably hit her because there was blood on the patio. You squatted down with her and was waiting on her to recover, I guess, from that, because Clint Bobo at that time looked out the window and saw you seeing with Holly. And I said, you waited, and he called his mother at that time. There's a record where he called his mother at that time, talking to her about who's outside. And I said, you waited till about 8:56 before you walking away with him, because there's another cell record where Clint Bobo,
Not cell records.
Well, what time calls are made is layperson.
and I said, Clint Bobo told me
he
that
can
he
read.
saw you walking into the woods with his
Okay,
sister.
well, that's
Well-
something that's in evidence, Your Honors. That Clint Bobo's on the phone with his mother. So regardless of what Clint said,
Okay. Um,
just what you knew.
and I said, and I got a description from,
I'm
and I got,
This is what you told Terry Britt you knew.
Okay, this is what you told Terry Britt you knew.
He's still in the narrative of
Yes.
what he told Terry Britt.
Yes.
yes, ma'am.
Shut up, woman.
And I said, her brother described you
I'm so
as
triggered.
being 5'10" to 5'11", 200 pounds, barrel chested, skinny legs, black hair that went over your collar, probably wearing a baseball cap, a camouflage jacket, blue jeans, and some type of work boots. And when I said that to him, he replied to me, that boy don't know what he saw. And I said, you got in your car around 8 o'clock. You drove north using the least traveled roads or with fewest houses. You got to the freeway around 8:30. You spent about 25 minutes near the freeway. And I said, when you left that area, you started throwing things of Holly's out along Yellow Springs Road, such as a receipt, a wadded piece of paper, a dollar bill. And I said, you stopped when you got near your house and you headed down and threw the rest of the items, the larger items, into the creek on Gooch Road. That's around 9:25. And I said, you would know that creek on Gooch Road because you drive down that road to go home. And I said, when you came out of that, you got home probably around 9:35, and your wife awoke, Jan awoke, when the dogs were barking. And about before I finished saying that final word, he interrupted me and looked at me very, very straightforward and said, sounds like you have it all figured out. I'll plead to it and you can close the case. I was very surprised by his comment. I didn't expect him to say that.
Who's huffing?
I,
Is that
Well,
heifer
I said, "Well, you
huffing?
got to do better than that. You got to give us her body." And he made a comment that I didn't understand at the time. His comment was, "Can't give you something I don't have." I said, "Well, I need TBI here to finish this up. I do not want to take a statement from him. I was not there to get testimonial evidence." I said, "TBI needs to be here. I got to leave." I got from the chair, walked to the door, waited for the guard to let me out. He got up and walked up behind me, and he said, "If I need to show you something, how long would you take me to get you out of here?" And I said, "It'd take me a couple of days. I'd have to get a writ to get him out of jail." And then he made some comment about Terry Dykes getting him out of jail, and that's the last I talked to him.
And did you relate all of this information to the TBI?
Yes, I did.
And as far as you know, did
I
they
put it in our USM report, USM 11, gave it to TBI.
and as far as you know, did the TBI go back to follow up with an interview?
Myself and Dykes tried much later, but he was not in the mood then. He wanted to be, they didn't follow up the next few days like I told him that they were probably going to do. That did not happen.
Okay. But you notified them right away, is
Yes,
that right?
yes, I did.
Melissa is asking, did it take them 2 years to find her belongings or just her remains? It was just her remains. They found her belongings relatively quickly after she was abducted. So it was the remains that took a long time to get. And are we like, what are we doing here since he confessed not to a jailhouse snitch. He confessed to a U.S. Marshal, y'all. What in the wide world of sports are we doing?
And so, did you think he was kidding with you when he said he offered to? Well, he can testify.
Don't argue in front of the jury. If you feel like they've had something, send it back out. I mean,
Okay.
You can't argue in front of
He
the.
thought someone was serious or telling the truth or things like that.
I got to back this up.
Yeah.
What's this joker saying up there on that?
He can testify.
Don't argue in front of the jury. If you feel like they've had something, send it back out. I mean,
Okay.
The witness can't say whether he thought someone was serious or telling the truth or things like that.
You're a trained law enforcement officer, is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Your entire career been dealing with criminal defendants and kind of the criminal side of human nature, is that right?
How much would you
Yes.
hate
You have
her
lots of
as a
experience and
juror
training in
because of
interviewing,
him?
Suspects. Is
Yes.
that true?
Yes, I do.
And you've been around when people have, you made a report in this matter. I think the U.S. Marshal Service calls it, what do you all call your reports?
The USM 11.
US 11?
Yes, USM 11.
And that's kind of the equivalent of a FBI 302, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
No, the jury is
And you
present.
certainly, when you make reports, you put down things that you take seriously and that are important. You put down important facts in your reports, is that right?
Yes,
And these are all facts that you included in your report.
yes,
And you shared that report with the TBI at that time.
yes.
No further questions.
Oh, don't tell me. Which one is worse, y'all? Oh God,
Your
we've
friend
got
Terry
her.
Dykes, that's my understanding.
We got
I
the
got some Terry Dykes, yes,
linebacker.
I've never spent any evenings or weekends with him. Yes, I am.
I didn't ask you about spending the night with him. You're friends with him.
Yes,
And you became friends
The
with him
snark.
during the course of the investigation, or were you friends before?
during the course of the investigation.
And the friendship continued afterwards, correct?
Yes,
Still friends with him today?
yes,
So you were aware when Terry Dykes called you and asked for a favor that he had been advised by his supervisor to stand down, leave Terry Britt alone.
I did not know that.
And you didn't find it odd that the case agent had to call you and ask for a favor? to go
No,
talk to
he
someone?
explained what he was asking.
So you go in to talk to Mr. Britt, right?
Yes, yes,
Put you in a room, and you, according to your report, and your report, back up, you testified in great detail today for 10 or 15 minutes about all the things that you told Mr. Britt, about how you know what he did, and this is what I know about the case. None of that's included in your report.
no, the report's very general.
Yeah. So all of that stuff that you say today, that you told him back in 2013, you just left all that out. Yes?
Yes, I was, I just put this,
So
I put the
let's
main
start at
facts.
that. Then. Let's assume that you told him all that. You're talking to a guy that's doing time, correct?
Yes,
He's looking at potential federal gun charges, correct?
I guess so.
Well,
I believe,
you know-
yes,
you
I
know.
believe he was having an abduction charge, a gun charge.
Did you make the statement to him? I told Mr. Britt that he was possibly also being indicted for federal firearms violations, and one case could carry a 30-year sentence.
Yes,
So that helps you remember what you actually told.
yes,
Okay, and if
That's
that
a
is actually-
fact.
Let me just pass this report up to you. And so if that statement is actually the first full paragraph of your 20-line report, That doesn't mean, does that mean that that's how you started your talk with him?
Thanks for asking
Telling
if
him
you
that
could
he's looking for 30
approach.
more years?
No, that doesn't mean it's.
Heifer.
Put it at the top. Because it actually says, initially,
Nasty, nasty
initially,
woman.
meaning in the beginning. Right? That's what that word means. In the beginning, I questioned Mr. Britt if he had been federally charged.
Yes.
Was that a question,
His wife had.
Heifer?
And then you told him, buddy, it's coming. So it's going to carry 30 years.
Okay.
Not okay. Yes or no?
Yes.
Because if you put it in the report, that's what happened.
Yes, that's what happened.
And if you didn't put it in the report,
Characterization, Your Honor. He doesn't say that it is coming. He says it is possible that he would be charged. So she's mischaracterizing the report if she questions the witness.
and he did. Thank you, Your Honor. Right?
What's your question again?
That's what you told him. Initially, as in the beginning.
We discussed many things when more about Holly and her family
But
before I actually talked
everything's
about.
not initially. In your report, it says initially.
Yeah, before I got into the story about what we thought.
So before you got into the story about what you thought, you told him, hey, you may be looking at 30 more years.
Yes.
So the way this report runs, if it's in the report, it happens.
Heifer.
But stuff that's not in the report could also have happened.
Yes.
Okay. You didn't Mirandize the man.
I was not looking for testimonial evidence.
Excuse me?
I was not looking for testimonial evidence.
So even though you're not looking for testimonial evidence, you started with, tell us what you know about where Holly is, and I can get you a deal.
I didn't do it that way. That's not the way it went.
Let me finish.
It's not your.
To the man about
Oh.
wanting him to come forth with where Holly's remains were, and you're
I'm getting
telling
itchy.
us that you don't consider that to be testimonial? Just yes or no, and then you can explain.
I was not there to get testimonial evidence.
Yes or no, and then explain. Let's not allow
Ask your
technicalities.
question again.
Don't allow technicalities. You ask the man, tell us where the dead girl is. That's your question, right?
Yes.
And you're saying, you're telling the jury that you don't consider that testimonial evidence?
I was not there to get testimonial evidence.
Is that like some buzzwords?
No, it's just true. I was not there to get testimonial evidence.
So
It
in
was
other
TBI's
words- In
responsibility.
other words, if he had said, she's under my driveway,
I would advise TBI that, and they could go talk to him about it.
because you didn't Mirandize it.
Your Honor, whether or not he Mirandize him, he doesn't necessarily have to Mirandize him.
And that's not an objection.
He was in custody. And why is she trying to? I paused it at a good point. She is legit trying. Look at her arm right here. Oh, you can't see her arm right here. She is trying to shut good Jennifer up. This woman, I'm getting hives. I'm all itchy. I am infuriated and triggered by her. Yes, I would be objecting because of her such close. I can't even hardly talk. I'm so upset about this. Her aggressive and behavior and how close in proximity she is to the witness. She keeps leaning and lurching toward him. Cut it out.
That is an
That's
objection,
a
Your Honor.
statement, okay?
Okay, so my objection is, I object to
The
the
question
forming
is, did you Mirandize him? No, I didn't.
No, no.
She cannot even answer the
The point of your
freaking
testimony
question.
today, even though it's not in your 20-line report, is that you went through your case theory about what happened to Holly.
It was also TBI's.
I'm sorry, if you can just answer the question first, and then if you want to add something, which you tend to want to do, or explain, you can do it.
This wasn't mine. It was TBI's.
So that's a yes. You explained to him your theory. Nobody else is up here, correct?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you told him, according to what you said today, this is what we know, Mr. Britt. And then you went through a litany of facts, right?
Correct.
And then he responded, sounds like you got it all figured out.
Correct.
Mr. Britt, we know that Shane, Dylan, and Jason alibied one another on the morning it happened. Did you tell him that?
No.
Did you tell him, Mr. Britt, we know that Zachary Adams said, I couldn't have picked a prettier bitch. Did you tell him that?
No.
Did you tell him, Mr. Britt,
So sick of
We
hearing
know-
that.
we know that Zach Adams said, I can't clear my name because I'm too far into it.
No, I did not tell him that.
Did you tell him, Mr. Britt, I'm here asking you to tell me where Holly Bobo's body is, but we know, Zach Adams said, I did it.
No, I didn't tell him that.
Did you tell him, I'm here asking you to tell me where Holly Bobo's body is, but Zach Adams has said on more than one occasion, I let Shane hit it. Did you tell him that?
No, I did not.
No, because that was about drugs. That wasn't about Holly Bobo. Woman, I don't know how you sleep at night.
Despite the fact that I'm here asking you where Holly is, Mr. Britt, the man that was with Zach Adams when he shot her in the head, has confessed to being with him.
No, I didn't tell him that.
Did you tell him, Mr. Britt, I'm here asking about Holly, and for you to tell me where she is? The man who purchased or traded for dope, the murder weapon,
It would be impossible to tell him this.
has told us.
Because
where it is.
this all happened after I interviewed.
Is that a no? You didn't tell him?
No.
Why does she not allow him
Tell him
to
that-
answer?
That man who told us where that he purchased the murder weapon or traded the murder weapon and told us where it is. We went out there and found it.
No,
We don't know that's the murder weapon.
When you went to do a favor for Terry Dykus that day,
I would not agree to that.
you would not.
No, I would not.
So.
When I talked, that
Let me
happened
ask-
after
I'm
we
sorry,
talked.
Let me ask a question.
No, he's trying to
If-
explain, Your Honor.
Wait. Is that an explanation? He can make an explanation.
You're asking me stuff that happened after I spoke with Terry Britt, so I don't know how I could tell him about something that happened afterwards. I mean,
So my question
yeah,
was,
so
you didn't know the full facts.
at the time I talked to Terry Britt, I knew the full facts.
If these are the facts, can you not just look at those people
Oh,
and
yes,
tell
ma'am.
them, I don't know what happened after 2013. I didn't know all the facts. Can you not agree to that?
I can't comment on that. I'm not allowed.
Aha. So there's a possibility he knew what was going on.
U.S. Attorney's Office.
Is he allowed, Mr. U.S. Attorney? Is that a yes? Sure, let's approach.
I'd rather decline in supervisory capacity.
Wow. I didn't even know this happened. This poor man, he's like, hey, can I say that? Can I
Ask me again,
do?
please.
You would agree with me, would you not, that after 2013, you don't know what happened in this case? You weren't a part of the investigation.
I was not a part of the investigation.
It doesn't mean he didn't know what was happening in this case. Those are two very different statements. Ask better questions, bad Jennifer, you heifer.
Innuendo that maybe perhaps you want to leave with the jury. Well, Terry Britt was listening to you talk about potential deals that you might be able to get for him.
It wasn't me. I wasn't giving it.
I'm sorry. Do you need to read your report?
I have no authority to make a deal. That's up to
Right.
TBI and U.S. and the attorney prosecutor. That's not.
You weren't acting on behalf of the district attorney's office, were you?
No, it was not.
And you were not acting on behalf of the U.S. attorney's office, the
No.
federal prosecutors.
No, it was not.
You were not asked by anyone other than Terry Dykus to go to that location, were you?
Correct.
And nobody
That's what he
reached out.
testified
No
to.
one asked you to try and reach a deal with him other than Terry Dykus.
I was not there to get a deal. I was asked if he wanted to talk.
You were not there to get a deal?
No. I was asked to go speak with Terry Britt
Talk to him.
to see if he wanted to talk about possibly making an arrangement, some type of deal with TBI. I wasn't the person making the deal.
What's different about what I said and what you just did?
Is that you're trying to act like I'm the one making the deal. I'm not.
Right.
I'm just the person out there. All I'm out there with is to find out if he wanted to talk to TBI, and he did.
Correct.
That's all I was there for.
I see the distinction.
You asked him to give you information about Holly Bobo.
I asked him to get TBI information about Holly Bobo.
And if it, I'm gonna pass this. Show me where that's how you reported it. Review that for me. That's your report.
I testified to it.
Tell me where it is in your report.
That is a very general report about
Ma'am.
things that occurred in that interview.
Get
So it's not in
your
there.
And to let
Uh,
TBI know,
butt
to let TBI
away.
know that he's wanting to talk. They should go speak with him. That's what the report's about. The
It's
report.
not, it's not in there, is it?
Say again what you think is not in there.
You forget my question for Adam.
No, I just want to make
It's
sure we're
not in
clear.
there that the TBI was the one making the deal.
You can say, is it in there?
Is what in there, Your Honor?
No, it's not. I don't understand the
What
question.
misunderstood? You don't understand the question?
How could you?
Nowhere in your report did you tell Terry Britt that I am here just as a mouthpiece for Terry Dykus. I can't really offer you a deal, but I want to work one out for you so that I can go back to them and tell them what you're willing to do.
Your Honor, he has not testified that he's a mouthpiece for Terry Dykus. That's a mischaracterization.
It's not.
It is.
She can describe it any way she wants to, okay?
What is happening again?
Mr. Britt
Oh,
seemed very suspicious of your interview, didn't he?
No. he
so
did not.
suspicious that he confessed
No,
to
no,
everything.
Let me explain. Okay.
Now,
go
let
ahead.
me follow up. Did you literally just say, no, he did
No, no,
not?
he said no.
You said suspicious of his interview.
Read along with me and tell me if I read it wrong.
Oh my
Mr.
gosh.
Britt seemed suspicious of the interview.
This woman is
Did I read
violating.
it wrong?
No, you read it right.
Now you want to explain?
Yes, I'll explain.
How about?
Okay. He seemed suspicious that I was there talking to him initially, but once I laid out, hey, TBI wants to know where her remains are. If you're willing to talk about it, maybe you can keep your wife from being charged. He was very concerned about that. He kind of changed his tone during the interview. Okay.
I want you to read your report and then tell me where you reported that he changed his tone.
It's not in there. I'm just telling you what happened.
So you reported that he was suspicious.
Yeah.
And at some point in your 20-line report, he changed his tone, but you didn't put that in here. Right?
No.
What are you
So
even
this is just
talking
one more example of, if you wrote it down, it happened. But there are a lot of things that happened that you didn't write down.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Redirect.
As she waddles
A report
back.
is not a transcript of what happens, is it? Is a
You can
report a
ask him,
transcript?
Is this a transcript?
Is this a transcript of what happened that
No.
day? Okay. When you write reports, do you usually go back and write word for word everything people said?
No.
Do you usually are they usually generalized when you write a report?
Yes.
Um,
I did not know.
to be clear, before a federal
Oh, wait.
employee is allowed to come testify, what kind of request needs to be made? Like if any federal employee, before they come to testify in court, what type of request has to be made?
TUI request.
A TUI request?
TUI request, yes.
Of what?
A TUI?
TUI request.
TUI request.
You want to spell that?
I don't know. I don't know how to spell it. It's an odd name.
What are we
It's a two-year
even doing?
Anybody know? The only two I know is from,
TOU,
Blindside. Okay.
And
Y'all, I am not a judge, and I know what a TUI request is. What world are we living in that this judge not only does not know what it is, he doesn't even know how to spell it? Oh my word, the incompetence is baffling. It's making me speechless. What are we doing? What is that? What is the name of that request? What? Oh my goodness gracious.
so
I might have to start drinking. Anybody got any kinky vodka?
so the purpose of that is that the United States Attorney knows, well, what is the purpose? You just tell us.
The purpose is that my testimony before as a federal officer or agent, my testimony has to be approved through the United States Attorney's Office. It's to protect against me talking outside of my scope, not giving up trade secrets, things of that nature.
Now, did the state of Tennessee make a request that you testify about the notebook in this case that you found?
Yes.
Okay. Did the defense make a request that you testify about cellular telephone records in this case?
Yes.
Did the defense make a request that you testify about your interview with Mr. Britt?
Yes.
Now, you performed a lot of other activities in this case, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Interviews,
Yes.
analysis, but those items were not requested that you testify about them.
No, they were not.
So you're not authorized to say what else you knew about the case or what else you did in the case.
That
are
is
you?
correct.
Had that been requested,
I'm going to object to relevance.
It wasn't requested in the last news conference we covered.
I know, but
You don't need to open the door to what we covered in the news conference with the superior.
right, but my point, Your Honor, is that's why
Anything he hasn't testified about. How can anything that he was asked to do or did, if it's not being testified to, be relevant?
she just went through such a long fuss with him about what did he know about the investigation? What did he do about the investigation? I can't cross-examine him about all the rest of the investigation because he's not been authorized to testify to it, Your Honor. Okay. No further questions.
Done. All right. Sit down, you're free to go.
Oh my word. I
Hold on, Mr. Walker.
y'all don't
All right,
know.
call your next witness. Do what?
Y'all don't know this, but you're going to find out. And this is why my face gets red and my neck gets red and I'm so triggered. I do not have any relationship with my sister because the behavior you just saw there is exactly what it's like to have a conversation with her. Not every time, but when she gets, she's like a dog with a bone when she gets on something. So seeing someone, y'all have heard me talk about narcissistic people and having some or experience with mental health issues with individuals. When you see this kind of behavior, it is, and you have any sort of past about it, it is so triggering. And that's why her behaving this way is so triggering for me, because this is supposed to be a court of law where there's protocol and rules and decorum, and none of that is happening here. So I have a sibling. I have not spoken to her in 23 years, and it's been fabulous. Not everybody's meant to have a sibling, and I don't mean that about me. I mean that about her.
Your wife, I can spell it.
Guts Sell. It's Gutgsell, I think.
We'll
Christy.
get it spelled. I've been doing it with every week. Raise your right hand. I'll swear the testimony about Kevin is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Be seated, state your name first and last, and spell for the.
It's Christy, Kristie. Last name is Gugasell, Gutgsell.
Would you,
Christie, is it I-E or Y? I missed that.
I'm sorry, IE.
Okay. All right, proceed.
so how is it that you are employed currently?
Currently,
Yes.
I work at a medical clinic currently.
Okay, and what were you doing in April of 2011?
I was a bail bondsman,
Okay, and what company were you with?
professional bonding.
Okay, and in April of 2011, did you happen to bond out Zach Adams?
I did.
Okay, can you please tell the jury what happened and what that was about?
I believe it was April the 4th. I bonded Zach out. Was when he was at Natchez Trace and he got several charges, drug charges and evading arrest. And I got him out on those charges that day.
Okay, and so when you bonded him out, did you happen to observe him and his physical appearance?
I did. After I bonded him out and he was released from jail, that's when we do our paperwork and talk and go through what I expect from him while he's out on bond.
And what did you observe?
I observed basically he had scratches all over him, like he had ran through the woods basically. And he also had like old scars on his arms.
And what were the old scars on his arms from?
Objection, Your Honor, because I feel like
If she knows.
If you know.
while she was there, yeah, she didn't know.
We'll strike it, Your Honor. Okay. And what about his legs?
He had scratches all over his
Keeps up
legs, his
on
arms,
everything.
his neck.
His neck also?
Absolutely.
No further questions?
Cross.
No questions.
All right, shut that.
Yes, sir.
She wanted to get into more, but nasty,
Special, time.
bad Jennifer.
I'd like one more time just to see if he's here.
All right.
Mr. Garnett, second to Mr. Garnett, who's outside.
Unbelievable.
First, I understand it's military, I believe, very short window of time that he has.
Yes, and our next witness is going to be fairly lengthy, so if he's available. No, okay. Then we'd like to call John Reeves.
I'm
Yeah, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Be seated, state your name first and last, and spell it for the court reporter.
My name is Jonathan Reeves, Jonathanreeves.
And can you speak up, please? Your voice. Can you move the microphone closer to you?
Am I that tall? Is that better?
Yes.
He was pretty tall
And
when he was walking
Mr.
in.
Reeves,
I
how is it
noticed
you're
that.
currently employed?
I'm president of JDR Telecom Solutions. I consult for wireless carriers throughout the U.S., designing cell phone networks and troubleshooting, optimizing, and essentially making sure that they work. When you hear the guy say, "Can you hear me now?" I'm one of those guys.
Okay. And so let's go back to the beginning. What's your training to design cellular telephone networks?
Initially, I have a Bachelor's of Science with Engineering from Grove City College in Pennsylvania. Since then, I've been trained throughout the process with different companies on how to design the RF engineering, the implementation of cell sites. Been trained on the actual individual vendor equipment, the different technologies.
Can you go into detail on some of the training that you have, the vendor equipment, the technologies?
This whole judge, I had a chance to speak with Mr. Reeves this morning, and I'll stipulate with regard to his expertise.
All right, they're willing to stipulate, you can see, I don't understand if you could.
Hallelujah.
Stipulate the next
Oh,
cellular phone technology, would that be the appropriate?
Yes, Your Honor. Okay. And so in this case, did you have an opportunity to review materials regarding Holly Bobo's telephone and the telephones of different persons in this case?
I have, yes.
And did you prepare a report?
I have, yes.
Okay. And I would like to, this time, I'd like to ask that this report be put into evidence, Your Honor. Let me pass it up to you. See if you recognize this.
I'm curious to know what Judge Bradbury thinks of the proceedings of this particular trial.
And have you prepared a PowerPoint demonstration?
Yes, this report has essentially just been presented in PowerPoint.
PowerPoint. Yay!
And if I could request the clickers right next to my laptop. Just
Give him the clicker.
the numbers that I reviewed are listed on the screen here. They include Holly Bobo's, Zach Adams,
Well, let's just go in order. So the first one belongs to,
Zach Adams.
okay, the next one?
Mr.
I don't know
Cameraman,
from memory on these, but I believe
I
the
don't
next one
want to
was
see
Jason
him.
Autry.
Yes. and
The next one is Holly Bobo.
Yes.
And the third one is Shane Austin.
The fourth one.
Oh, sorry, fourth one is Shane Austin.
Yes. Okay. So
I reviewed them for, no, sorry, the order is Zach Adams, Jason Autry, Holly Bobo, and Shane Austin. So the information I reviewed was the information that was provided to me, but my understanding was provided to law enforcement as part of this proceeding, including the locates that were performed on Holly Bobo's phone the day of her disappearance.
okay.
Um,
So what is the locate information that you have?
So there's two general sources of information. I know you guys have already heard about some of this, and that's great because it makes my job a little bit easier. You guys have already gotten the brief crash course on this. But the information I have is both call records, and those are the call detail reports that you've seen Agent Frizzell last week present to you, as well as the locate records. And the locate records were the queries that were sent out looking for Holly Bobo's phone on the day of her abduction. The difference between those two pieces of information are pretty stark, meaning the call records are all historic. So we can go back to those at any point in the past and pull up the call records in order to see what activity was done on a phone at any given date and time. That includes text messages, voice calls, even data sessions in some cases, depending on the device. So we have the ability to look back in history to find that information. The locate records, on the other hand, are one of those real-time things. You have to do it at that moment that you're looking for that device. And if you do it an hour later, it's going to be different information because the device may either be off or moved or somewhere else. They're the two general categories of information that I had. The interesting thing about the locates was, at the time that they were performed in order to try and find the missing person, in this case, Holly Bobo. The information that comes back from those locates, an ideal world would be, here's a dot on the map that says where that device is. Unfortunately, that's not possible in this case.
And why is that?
There's a number of reasons for that. The primary one is just the technology that at that time didn't support it. We are talking about 2011. The technology, in addition to that, isn't a technology that specifically supports that as well. The phone and the devices that were all used for all four of those numbers that we provided are actually GSM technologies, Global System for Mobile Communications. It's an older technology at this point. Even for 2011, it was a little bit older at that point, but the networks were still evolving and upgrading at that point. So that was probably the most common technology back in 2011. Specifically though, GSM doesn't have GPS embedded in the phone. If you have a CDMA phone, like if you're on Sprint or Verizon, those phones are based on different technology. So each one of those phones has its own GPS receiver in the phone that allows you to see your location on a map, to actually go out, in some cases, query that device to find out where it is. That's not what we're talking about here, though. I want to make that clear. The GSM device that Holly Bobo had the day that she disappeared didn't have any of that GPS technology associated with it. So the best thing that they could do was go to AT&T, who was the service provider, and say, can you do your best case to find out where this device is in the network? And that's what these locates are. I guess contrary
Pings.
to Agent Frizzell's assertion of what these locates are, I have a slightly more nuanced and more detailed approach to what these locates are, knowing how the networks actually operate.
And have you ever done locates personally?
Yes, I have.
And when I said done, what does that mean? If you
I mean, in some cases, it's literally just typing the command into the computer that says locate this device, enter, and it'll come back and give you the information on where that device is, the specific
Wow.
raw data on that device.
So you're saying that, have you done locates as a service provider for other people wanting to know where a phone is?
Yes, I've done it. I've done it both internally for testing, verification. We'll do it on technicians that are out in the network so we can find out where technicians are, make sure the right information is coming back. But I've also done it in previous cases where they're trying to find a missing person.
So you've been actually the person that gives the locate information to someone that's requesting it?
On occasion, yes.
Okay.
So the important thing to understand here is when law enforcement or anyone goes to AT&T and says, I have a phone number, I want to know where this device is, AT&T ideally would come back with coordinates and say the phone's right here, but that's not possible in this case, as we just covered. So instead, AT&T provides the best information they have available. Now, if AT&T comes across and says, hey, we have this cell site, it's at this address, and it's got these antennas on it, and you're in the middle of trying to track down someone, that information doesn't do you any good because you don't know what that cell site is, what the antennas are, the sectors are that are on that cell site. So what happens instead is they try to take that raw information and put it into more, we'll say, generally understandable format. In this case, they're actually providing a pinpoint coordinates, and then they describe it as an uncertainty radius. So they essentially put in a dot and a circle around that dot and say, this is the area that the device could be in. But the reality is that because of how rural these sites are, the only information they really have is just what serving cell, by serving cell, I mean the sector. If you recall, Agent Frizzell last week, he discussed how individual cell sites are divided up into thirds, essentially. He used the clock as an example. Maybe I like my food too much. I like to use the analogy of a pizza or a pie. You cut the pizza.
Oh no, not
thirds,
pizzas again.
and each third of that pizza is where that sector serves. If you're looking down, from the sky at the cell site.
And do you have a slide that demonstrates this?
So in this case, this is the raw information that was provided to law enforcement at the time of Holly Bobo's disappearance. And they're marked as locate and the time. And the pink center point in each one of these cases is the location of the coordinates. And the yellow shaded area is the radius or the uncertainty that went along with those coordinates. when I first saw this information, I thought perhaps that this actually was based on, we'll say, some sort of network-based, location-based services. I think you guys might recall Adrian Fazell using that tagline on Saturday, location-based services. But as I looked at this, let me back up actually. Location-based services, what he's talking about is the ability for the network to do some extra, I hate to say magic, but just some extra processing to try to find more information about where that cell or that device is at the time of that locate. Based on this information, though, it came pretty clear to me that there was no location-based services associated with this data. The thing that's most obvious is that in each one of these cases, the center points are just the center beam of that individual antenna for that sector. In
So
addition,
what do you mean by that? 'Cause
okay, so we talked about dividing the pizza up into thirds. So in this case, the sectors are made up by individual antennas on each one of those faces that essentially serves that slice of the pizza. In this case, and may I stand here? So what I'm showing here is the actual predicted sector location for that antenna. And the actual bearing, I think this beach for they'll describe it as an azimuth. The actual main focus point of that antenna points right out at 60 degrees in this case. And when we draw a line at 60 degrees, it comes right on the center point of that locate that we're trying. In addition, every single other one of them does the same thing with their respective sectors. It's in each case, it's within half a degree, if not right on the degree of the azimuth of the antenna. In addition, as
So
you
you're
look,
saying it's right in dead in the center of that sector's antenna, the locates are.
it's at exactly the azimuth that that antenna is pointed at.
Okay.
And I will get to why this is important in just a second as we cover the radius as well. If you look at the radius of each one of these circles,
Of our
in this case,
pizzas?
the radius from the center point that they provided is essentially just enough to get it back to the cell site with a little bit more to spare. So it goes around the backside of the cell site. So in this case, it's 180% of the distance, 104% of the distance, 105%, and 105%. That's important because those numbers aren't random. Specifically, I've been responsible for many of my customers to actually fill out the data that goes into these systems for 911 services. And you specifically enter in for these locations, you specifically enter in all the antenna information, the azimuth of the antenna, and the serving distance. This information up here, as I see it, is strictly it's just saying this is the sector that the device is on, and this is our best approximation of where that sector serves. So let's take it back for a second. At the point where law enforcement requests to locate on the device, someone at AT&T goes in, types in the command, locate this number, they get information back. Now, if they just came back and said, it comes back on cell 10961, which these are the labels for the individual cells in the sector. If they say it comes back on 10961, that doesn't mean anything to anybody. I wouldn't know what 10961 is, and I'm an expert. But if they provide the location information you see up there with a dot and circle, that's their best attempt at trying to say, hey, look, if you're trying to find somebody right now, we don't have any other information we can hand you easily. Here's the best way to try to find it. My statement here is that it's certainly valid for what it is, but it's not as detailed as actually tying it back to the cells themselves. And the reason for that is that the previous slide, these are just approximations of the coverage area. This is literally the simplest way that you can try and just say she's somewhere in this area. An example of the locate at 120 degrees on the right side, that's a huge area. And if you look at it, it actually almost reaches to the very next cell site. Realistically, if we were to instead say, we're really only looking at where she's located in these individual sectors, we can narrow that area in significantly. The important thing to note on that as well is during Agent Frizzell's presentation to everybody here, he repeatedly made the statement they were in the same general area at general times.
Yeah, I heard that last.
Or they were on the same tower at the same general times. The thing that's really unique about this, though, is if you look at these sectors and the way the coverage from the sectors works, there's not going to be a situation where the locate at 9:10 a.m. on cell 31522 would ever overlap with the locate on 857 10961.
To the map.
They're two distinctly different areas.
Cameraman,
Even in a scenario
map.
where locate 9 and locate, I'm sorry, I think I mislabeled. It's locate 902 and locate 910.
Can I interrupt you just a second? Your little controller there has a laser pointer on it too.
It does.
Because I'm
Your clicker.
just a little about.
Oh, like that. Okay. So you can see that in this sector here, there is a very distinct difference between being in the sector in the area that this covers than being in this sector in the area it covers. Now,
I see nothing.
there were maps that were provided by AT&T to law enforcement during this time that specifically showed their own internal predictions for where they expected these cells to cover. So now, instead of looking at the big circles, we now come back and look at the individual, it's what's called a predicted server map. If we look at that, we can now narrow in those areas much further.
Can I pause you just for a second? This
Yeah.
It's not even showing. Let me just bring this up to you, and I think this is Exhibit 219. When you say the overlay map, is that what you're referring to when you talk about an overlay map?
That's correct. This is a predicted best server map.
Okay, just to show that to the jury. I know they've seen that.
So the key here is that now rather than looking at individual points and a large circle around it. We can now narrow in on specifically where we know these devices were at the time. And certainly the day in the morning of her abduction, to try to narrow it back to this and have a predicted server map, it's unfortunately not realistic. It's not available. But after the fact, being able to actually look at the engineering that goes into the system and know where these cells serve, we can make a much more educated estimation of where the devices were throughout these times.
So rather than have a big blob of where everybody was, you're saying you can, are you saying you can narrow it down to a specific area?
That's correct. That's correct. We can use the combination of these individual sectors as well as that predicted best server map to be able to narrow in on where these devices were. So rather than saying the devices were on the same tower, they happen to be in the same general area, we can make much more precise estimations as far as where these devices are.
Do tell.
Okay. So doing that, what were you able to determine?
So really the only key difference here is that rather than putting in locates with the large areas on them, I've now assigned the locates to the individual sector that would have been serving the device at the time that locate was performed. So you can see on the right side here, well, first let's discuss what this is. This is call records for Holly Bobo and Zach Adams from 8:19 a.m. to 9:50 a.m. Technically it's from 8:17 because that's the first record on here for Holly Bobo's device, but it's 8:19 was the first activity we had that morning on Zach Adams' device. I found it
So he's
a little bit
yellow.
odd that the
She's blue.
statement made by Agent Frizzell last week was that there was no activity on Zach Adams' device or Jason Autry's, or I believe it was also Shane Austin's device during the abduction. As far as how I'm looking at this, I'm not looking at a time frame relative to any other event other than just saying we have activity on Holly Bobo's device, be it a call or a locate, all the way up until 8:25 a.m. So wherever there's overlap here, that's what I'm presenting. I'm just presenting where there's overlap between the devices in time.
So you're saying there were other calls that were made, text calls that were made on the devices, but you're just picking out the ones that were close in time to Holly's phone
Correct.
to show where devices were located.
Right. I'm trying to show if there's any sort of correlation between the devices, the device location, and the times.
It sounds like he was trying to simplify it because it shows that Zach was not with Holly's phone. Gosh, we wouldn't want to do that if we're the state. If we're the, heifer and attorney whispering rocks, we don't want that.
So you can see here at 8:17 a.m., there's a text from, well, essentially 1100 was a voicemail notification to Holly Bobo's phone. It was made on 10962. 10962, when I define that, that's a cell, and that's that sector there. The important thing about that event was that was that was the first record on Holly Bobo's device that morning that was not on one of the cells that would otherwise serve her home area. Her home location is marked on here.
Means she was
Brazil covered that as well, that there were
moving.
several different sectors that would cover her house, and that's because she is in a very rural, hilly area, and it's possible that different cell sites down in this area all could see her house at different times in different ways. So prior to 8:17, all of the other activity was still on sectors and cells that are down in that area between Parsons and Darden.
So this 8:17 is the first cell signal that shows her phone has moved away from her home location.
That's correct. The information that's presented here is color coded with Holly's records in pink lettering, Zach's in black lettering, and then the backfill that you see here is for the individual sectors that it associates with. So where you
I don't need to see this
one in
man.
blue,
Take me to the map.
the sector in blue is the one that she was on. So even if you don't want to be able to match up that number, you can just look at the colors to be able to see where each one connects. So you can see at 8:17 a.m., there's activity on Holly's phone on I'm going to say it's the south sector of the Natchez Trace site. But 2 minutes later, there's activity on Zach's phone on the southeast sector of the Cox Road Tower. So within 2
Not
minutes,
even close.
Holly has activity here and Zach has activity over here. They're not in areas or on sectors that are significantly overlapping. It's not like they're in areas where they're literally two sectors that are right next to each other, pointing into each other, where you could think, hey, within 2 minutes, you could be back and forth between these two sectors. Not
Wow.
Once again, at 8:25 a.m., there's activity on Holly's phone, also on that same sector. So she's still in the same south sector of Natchez Trace. And 4 minutes later, there's activity on Zach's phone, still on that home sector. I say home sector because you can see
Wow.
his house is actually located where that sector would be the one most likely to serve it. It has been consistently shown to be the sector that serves his home location. So within 2 minutes, we have very discrete locations for both devices. And then within 4 minutes, again, we have that same breakdown of different locations for the same two devices. My conclusion looking at this is that this is not conclusive, or is not expected to be that the two devices were at the same place at the same times. Certainly there is a 2 minute gap between the one and a 4 minute gap on the other, but that's not really enough time from looking at the maps to be able to transition those two sectors and move from one sector to the next. Likewise, so until 8:38, Zach remains on his southeast sector of Cox Road.
Because he's at home.
8:55, he then transitions over to the southwest sector. Now you can see that this actually starts to become at least closer to Holly's device. Holly's device at 8:57 has a locate on 10961 up on this sector here, the northeast sector of.
Are you all following what he's saying? So you may not be able to see it, but this blue square here, and where it says the writing, it says is Adams residence. So that's what he's been saying is in this sector here, that's the only sector that Zach's phone had been pinging on until all of a sudden it was closer to 9 o'clock. Then his cell phone starts to move to this sector here. Holly's phone has been showing there's a sector down further below that they're not showing on this map, which is close to her home, or would have been considered her home sector. And then it ends up showing up in the next ping. When they ping it, it shows up in this sector here, while Zach is still in this sector over here. Everybody following? That is a significant difference in spatial relation.
Not just trace. So within 3 minutes, they're now on 2 different sectors. And now they are getting closer, but they're still not necessarily in the same exact location.
Now, let me ask you this. If Mr. Adams was at his home, let's say he walked over to his grandfather's house, you say that he's on sector 2, that 31522, but he's not actually within that piece of pizza. He's kind of in the middle there. What does that have to do with anything?
There's a very important distinction. While we can sit here and say that that he's here and he's most likely to be on the sector, he's actually in a kind of between area. So anytime you're between these 2 sectors, you're in that gap, there's a possibility that you could be on one or the other, just depending on what your activity, utilization, movement looks like. So it's not impossible that he would still be at the same
He may
location,
not have
or at
even
least very close to
moved,
home, but still transitioned over to this other sector.
like in a vehicle.
So to follow through with the rest of the locates on here, you can see at 8:58, Zach's device, at 8:58, 8:59, Zach's device.
Keep us on the
transfers back over
map.
to that southeast sector of Cox Road. At the same time, or sorry, 2 minutes after that, there's a locate done on Holly's device that then moves it into that southwest sector of Cox Road. At 9:06, there's another activity. There's actually a voice call on Holly's device that was unanswered, still in the same sector. So the 901.
And let me ask you, see right there on that Holly's device at 9:06, that 901-552-9905, is that a voicemail call? That phone number, does that represent a call going to voicemail?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, none of these calls were answered by Holly's device throughout this period.
I'm just specifically asking you about that phone number, that 901 number. That's indicative of the voice call.
Going to voicemail.
Okay, voicemail number. Got it.
So at 9:10 a.m., now granted, Zach has been back on the from 8:58, 8:59. He's back on his home sector. At 9:01 and 9:06, Holly's device is still on this other sector to the southwest. And then at 9:10, there's activity on Zach's phone and on Holly's phone in that same sector. And there's also activity again at 9:12 on Zach's phone. So at 9:10, there is an overlap on these sectors, a 1-for-1 overlap, that they're both using the same sector at the same time. And then to complete the loop, I'm going to come back to this in a second. Complete the loop, at 9:25 a.m., the final locate that was performed and successful on Holly's phone placed it down off this northwest sector of Parsons. As I review this information and I look at the data for that morning on Holly's device, the general trend is that it starts down and around a residence. She travels up for an extended period of time in the south sector of the Natchez Trace site. She then transitions fairly rapidly. Well, I say fairly rapidly. From 8:26 to 8:57, there's no data on Holly's device to know where she is or what she's doing, or where the device is, I'm sorry. So there is a significant gap in there, almost at a half hour, more than a half hour. But when she registers on this site for that locate, it fairly rapidly from 8:57 to 9:01, 9:06, 9:10 proceeds to move in this direction. And then ultimately coming back down in order to be on this northwest sector of Parsons. So the general trend is the device spent some time down in this area or even up between these 2 sectors, but then ultimately completed a loop back down this direction. By contrast, Zach Adams' device stayed either on his home sector or for a brief period was back onto the southwest sector and then returned back to his home sector.
Okay, and then the final.
And that's important. We're going to go over some maps once we finish the entire trial, because what you're not seeing necessarily on here is Zach's residence up here is significantly north of the Bobo residence. The Bobo residence is quite significantly more south than where this is, where Zach's residence is. So it makes absolutely no sense. There is no way that he was with her. I mean, this was as late as, what did they say, 9:25? Give me a break.
One, you do have a final one down there at the bottom that's in purple.
Yes, I include this. It doesn't show up real well for everybody on here, but I include this last record for Zach at 9:50 a.m. because it places him far, well outside of this area and to the northeast of the Birdsong Tower. And there's going to be some slides that we'll use to cover that period of time as well. I just wanted to show you that there was, this is the nearest record to 9:25 is that 9:50 record for Zach.
And that Birdsong Tower, is it over there by the Tennessee River?
It is.
And that's way east of where they all are. Oh, well, thank you, Mavhawk 11.
This particular one.
We try to make it make sense. I'm
absolutely.
just a middle-aged lady with, a lot of trial watching experience. So I don't know much about the law, but hey.
Mr. Reeves, is this page 7? That where you have that chart? Oh, you're going to count.
Yes, it's page 7.
Can I just make a notation of 7 at the bottom of your report here?
Certainly.
Got it.
The next pages in my report essentially just summarize what I just went through here as far as the individual call records, the time frames, where there was activity, who it was by, and it's all color coded in here with Holly Bobo's records in pink and Zach Adams' records in blue. And then ultimately the conclusion that I just gave you regarding the transitioning of the phone and the movement of the phone is presented as well. So in this slide, I essentially cover that same time frame, but I cover it for Jason Autry. And to be clear, I don't include everybody's records all in one page because frankly, there's too many, it would get too jumbled. So if I tried to include Holly Bobo's, Zach Adams, and Jason Autry's all in one slide, there would be too much information. Too many
Let me
records to
guess.
fit on the slide to be able to
He
see.
wasn't
So
around
there's a couple
Holly
slides later on
either.
You'll see where it gets a little bit small, hard to read, and that's why I had to split them out into separate slides.
And now we're on page 10 of your report. Is that so?
Correct.
I'll put a 10 on the exhibit if that's okay with you.
Yes. So in this map, it's the same exact map, same locations, same color codes. The only difference here is that we're now looking at Holly Bobo's phone and Jason Autry's phone. You can see the same exact records that we just discussed for Holly Bobo, and now we're looking at Jason Autry's records instead of Zach's.
It looks the
We can see
same.
that this 819 call was very similar to Zach's because that was actually a call from Jason Autry to Zach Adams, so they both had calls at 819. We can see that the Jason Autry calls, all these in the lighter shade of yellow or cream, are actually for this sector up here. I know it's not a real good contrast, but all of these records.
Can
were
you
on-
say out loud for the record what sector you're pointing to with your pointer?
Yeah, I was going to say the sector that I'm pointing at is the cell 31521, and it's the north sector of the Cox Road Tower. So during this time frame when Holly Bobo's device is down on the south sector of Natchez Trace, Jason Autry is on the north sector of Cox Road in very discrete and different location than anything that would be served down here. He remains in that general area until 8:40 a.m. And then at 8:52, he transitions into the southeast sector of Cox Road Tower, 31522. Up till 8:55, he remains on that sector. So still in that southeast area.
He was here
We
and
have
now
these
he's
same,
here.
Activity on Holly Bobo's device from 8:57 to 9:25 a.m. with no activity on Jason Autry's device during that same time frame. Lastly, and it's cut off on there, but lastly, I included the record at 9:42 a.m. where Jason Autry's device transitioned to the northeast sector of Birdsong.
And that's over in
That's the
this
last call there.
And we
direction.
will cover that in a separate slide for that time frame. I just wanted to include his next record just so you can see the gap in the time when there was activity. So the next page of my report covers essentially exactly what I just discussed, the individual call records, what the activity was. And it does go into a little bit more detail further down the time frame to 11:40 a.m., but there will be a separate slide that I'll discuss that activity in more detail. So my conclusion on Holly Bobo's device doesn't change from this. Her activity and her records are still the same. So what I discussed before about the movement of the device in a generally clockwise manner remains the same. The only thing that's new on this conclusion is just that Jason Autry's device during the timeframes and the records that were available don't place him in any of those locations at exactly the same times or locations. There's certainly
It's
the
shocking,
records,
isn't it?
he's at 8:55, he's on that southeast sector. But Holly Bobo's device does not reach that sector until 9:10 a.m.
Now, on that same slide number 10, page 10, at any point does Jason, well, where would you expect Shane Austin's home tower to be?
So it's labeled on here as the Austin residence. And the sector that we've consistently seen that serves him, as predicted to serve him, is that southwest sector of Cox Road Tower.
And can you give us a number for the record? Because she's writing things down.
Cell 31523.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 31523. And we'll actually get to Shane Austin's record in the next.
Okay, at any point though, from these records on page 10, does it appear that Jason Autry is on Shane Austin's home tower?
There are no records or activity that indicates Jason Austin used that 31523 sector.
So almost like he was never even at Shane's house. All that testimony that he was there. Huh. Imagine that.
12.
So 12, that'd be page 12 if
This
it's
is
two
12.
pages down
No
from 10.
cell phone data to
Oh,
support
this
that
one,
he
page
was
13.
there.
Is it okay if I just go through a number of the pages in your report?
Yes, absolutely.
I guess that's how he saw the burn barrel. And
So this
how
map
they had to get
image
rid of a
depicts
body.
essentially the same information that we've been covering, but in this case, it's for
Yeah.
Holly Bobo's records as well as for Shane Austin's phone records for that morning. In Agent Frizzell's report, he didn't include any of the information for Shane Austin. He just said there was no activity on his phone during that time frame. And while it's correct, I thought it was important that we at least present what activity there was as it relates to Holly Bobo's device and her time frame. So
I like
specifically,
this.
Shane Austin's first activity is at 9:23 a.m. So there is some overlap, meaning it does slap between these two locates that we discussed before on Holly Bobo's device at 9:10 and 9:25. But Shane Austin's activity at 9:23 a.m. is on cell 31523, which is the cell that we discussed previously, is expecting to serve his home location. You can see then from 9:45 on, he continues to have pretty consistent activity all the way up to 10:55 a.m., all the while on cell 31523, that home sector.
This
It
is
isn't
the
until
one.
11:01 a.m. that he actually leaves that cell and transitions onto the southeast sector 31522.
Which is this
You
one.
can also see, based on these two locates, that there is a 9:23 a.m. Activity on Shane Austin's device, and there's a 9:25 a.m. locate on Holly Bobo's device on two discretely different sectors.
She's still
But there
over
could be
here.
because they do point into each other, there could be some potential overlap or some areas where they would be adjacent to each other, where you hand off from one sector to the next.
So none of their cell phones were
And
with hers.
This slide, I'm just discussing, the details of what we just looked at on the map for the individual call records.
This jury had to have not
There's very little that we
understood
can actually
this.
determine from these call records because there are so few of them in the overlapping time frame. The closest one is the 9:23 to 9:25. So I can't come to any definitive conclusion or make any predictions on exactly what was happening with regard to Shane Austin's device during the time where there was no activity. So as we discussed previously, I was going to also cover the time frame where Zach Adams and Jason Autry's devices left the holiday area and traveled to Birdsong. The information in here, it's still color coded to the individual sector. So where you see it in purple, that's that purple sector at 39077 for cell 39077. Where it's in brown, that's that northwest sector 39079. This particular sector is color coded, but it's never actually used in any of the records. So if they were transitioning through this area, it never actually has any activity on that sector during that transitioning. And then you can see these sectors are still color coded the same. So you can see, to start from the top at 9:12 a.m., there's activity on Zach Adams' device on this home sector. There's a gap till 9:42 a.m. where both 9:42, Jason Autry has activity on that northeast sector of Birdsong.
Way away. I'm on 1.5.
Zach Adams also has
Mavhawk.
activity on 39077. There's considerable number of calls by Zach Adams during this time frame, all the way up to 10:30 a.m., 10:32 a.m., at which point they both start transitioning back into this northwest sector.
They are
into the
so
southeast
far
sector,
away from
at which
from
point it's
phone.
sometime, but Zach Adams does return to the southwest sector of Cox Road.
This is where her cell
Now, let
phone
me
is,
ask
and
you,
they're
about this
way
transition. If you look at
in
the
the
last
east.
purple row up there, that's a Zach Adams call. It's a text actually, and it's a text out from his phone. Is that right?
That's correct.
At 10:32.
Yeah, 10:32 a.m. There's a text from Zach Adams' phone to 731-733-1346.
Perhaps a girlfriend's telephone number. Did you analyze Rebecca Earp's telephone records?
I did. I don't have it memorized off the top of my head.
So based on this call, he's at the Birdsong 7 tower. Is that right?
He's on the northeast sector of Birdsong. And this is, there may be some questions on this, so I do want to cover this. As we've discussed in the past, we've always discussed it being 3 slices of pizza, evenly distributed 120 degrees each. But when you get into the real world and the engineering, sometimes that doesn't actually work that way. So what you can see here is that these two sectors don't actually make up perfect slices of pie. They're actually a little bit more off of their azimuth. That's why you see a larger gap up here. So the actual engineering information that we were provided shows that these sectors were a little bit more east and west to shoot up and down, east and west down the interstate. For that.
I bet you get really,
It's not that
really
it's anything critical, but it's a
crappy
difference
cell
from what's
service there
standard that we're
too,
discussing to this point.
And if somebody
like
were
in a
to
lot of
come
places
over-
in Tennessee.
I'm sorry, scratch that question. So then his next call from the, and I'm calling it Birdsong, but you're calling it 39077. Tower.
Correct. This is the northeast sector of the Birdsong Tower.
And that's at 10:32. At 10:35, he has a voice call, and that is on the 39079 sector.
That's correct. That's the
So
west.
it's directly west of where he was before.
That's correct.
Okay. And then he has another call at 10:35, another voice call. Does that look right?
Yes.
Okay. And then he has another call at 10:36. Does that look right?
Yes.
Okay. And then he has another call at 10:36. Oh, well, there's a text there and then a call.
Yes. There's a text message at 10:36, and then there's a phone call.
Okay. And then at 10:37, he has a text message.
Correct.
And
Oh.
all of those are in that that 39079 sector.
That's correct.
And that goes from 10:35 to 10:37.
Correct.
So that's a 2-minute gap there.
Correct.
Okay. And then the very next thing, he is at 10:38, he has a text call, and he's back in Cox 2.
Heading
he's on the
west.
southeast sector of Cox Road, and it's 31522.
And we're calling these Cox 2 because the tower is actually located on Cox Road.
31522 is
different
the
names
same
that even
sector
AT&T
where
uses
his
for some of the
home
sites.
When I said that,
is.
what I meant was it's 31522.
That's the correct cell number. Yes.
And if you just indicate where that is for the jury.
That's the record, and that's the location.
Okay. So that is 1 minute later at 10:38.
That's correct. And there certainly could be some questions over that. But as you transition from this sector, as you drive west from Birdsong towards Cox Road, whether you do it on the highway or you do it on the back road, at some point there's going to be a transition where you go from one sector to the next. And this one seems pretty clear that they transition from the one sector on the northwest sector of Birdsong to the southeast sector of Cox Road at right about that point. And it doesn't bounce back after that.
And he's made that trip in a total of 5 minutes from 10:32 until 10:38, 6 minutes.
Yes, that's the difference in time.
And he does not during that time hit off of 39078, which would be Birdsong South Tower.
That's correct. There were no records that utilized 39078, that south sector on Birdsong during that time.
And I'd like to show you a map.
Melissa, I think once we take some time to get to pull a map up and get familiar with what it actually, once you kind of know the lay of the land in this particular area, these maps and understanding where she was, where her remains were found, where Victor Dinsmore lived, where Terry Britt lived, where the Bobo residence was, where Zach Adams and Shane Austin, like once you see all of those in proximity to each other, I think a lot of this will become very, very clear and easy to understand. If you're coming in and not really understanding or knowing what the lay of the land is in that particular part of Tennessee, it makes it more difficult. But it makes sense. He was headed east. That's when they went to the bridge, I suspect, to shoot up and get high. And then they headed back west back toward Zach's residence. Now, I believe they were probably in Jason's vehicle when they did that. And then they went and got Dylan's truck at the residence. And then that's when they ultimately headed to the bank that they don't know about in this trial because it never came in. But we know because we've watched the post-conviction relief hearings and we know that that was actual evidence. So. Come on, good Jennifer. Let's keep it rolling.
Back and forth.
Yeah, if you unplug the cable from my laptop, it should.
I think it's possible now. I'll never get it back working.
My laptop will never work again. There's 2 ports on the back. It's got to go on the one towards the back.
Like out my computer end. That's helpful.
There you go.
Mavhawk, if you would have seen the
Show
prosecution's
you a map.
explanation, this is leaps and bounds above what we learned in his. It was a mess.
What? This is exhibit number for the record. 237. So if somebody were at the Tennessee River, starting up here, and this is I-40. Can you see that it says I-40 there? I can make it zoom
Yes,
in more.
I can see it. Well, I could.
see now that it says I-40 up there? Yes, okay. So if you were over here at the Tennessee River and you traveled straight there,
And by the way, I-40 is the interstate in which we looked at the picture of where the tower is, where they found Holly's remains. So that particular photograph is showing incorrect form. When I say correct form, I mean the tower is north of I-40. So what you're seeing here, this here, her, and I'm guessing because I know that Hohammer Road and Yellow Springs, it's further west of those particular roads on I-40, or just north of I-40 is where the tower is that her remains were found.
you know, till you get to this part of the water that kind of jerks out there around Nick's Landing. And then you were to cut over. Would you expect to show up in that Birdsong 8, that lower quadrant cellular tower, if you were on the phone at that time?
If there was activity during that time where they transitioned that area, I would expect to see it on that south sector of Birdsong, or the 39078 cell. Yes.
Okay, and do you ever see any activity this morning on that Birdsong 8 sector?
No, there was no records of activity on that 39078 sector.
Remember, Jason Autry testified that they went down through that Birdsong area and everything, which is absolute bovine scatology because the evidence does not support that. It was
Okay, so now we're back to your
fiction.
report.
And before I move on from this particular page, are there any other questions on this page?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
So now we're to page 17.
So once again, I'm just recapping the discussion that we just had as far as the time frame, the sectors that were used during those times, and the conclusion. It does appear that both devices traveled at that same time through those same areas because there were records that tied them up in very close in time, as well as on the same sectors. So it would certainly be within the realm of reason that those two devices were together as they made that trip, at least until the point where they returned, back onto the southeast sector of Cox Road, at which point there are no records from Jason Autry, but Zach Adams does continue on to the southwest sector. And this is the last map and the last analysis that I have, and specifically the time frame that we're looking at here is after Zach Adams' device returns from Birdsong. So if you look at that previous slide, the last record was 10:49 a.m. And if you look at this next slide, it's 10:49 a.m. on the top line. So this map covers a time frame from when Zach Adams' device returns back to the Cox Road site, and the activity of
Back
Zach
home.
Adams' device and Shane Austin's device for essentially the next approximately hour and a half. And during that time frame, you can see Zach Adams and Shane Austin are both on that southwest sector of Cox Road, 31523,
This one.
until 10:55 a.m.
So that would be Shane's home sector.
Correct. That would be the sector that we
10:55
expect to serve
a.m.
here. Been noted to serve Shane Austin's home.
Okay. So they're there what looks like about 6, maybe 10 minutes.
So yeah, somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes.
Okay.
We know they
Over
show up
1 a.m.,
in
Shane Austin's device transitions to the
the-
southeast sector.
we know they show up in the surveillance of the bank ATM video at right around 11 o'clock. I don't remember the specific time, but it was 10:50 to 11:10, something like that. So this all supports the story or the account that Zach has given for years.
Of Cox Road, 31522.
Okay, and that would be back by the interstate, anywhere from,
Yeah, it could be anywhere down in this
right.
area. And then from there, and the colors don't match up real well, but you can see the color code here. This is red to match up with the red sector, the south sector in Parsons. This pink doesn't match up real well with the pink that shows through there, but this 12571 record would match up with 12571 cell. And all the rest of these records from 11:15 a.m. to 12:10 p.m. are all on that south sector of Parsons.
'Cause
At
they were
12:18,
driving around in that area.
that northeast sector of Parsons, most likely as they start to travel back to the north. And then at 12:35, they're back up on the home sector for Shane Austin.
Okay.
The key takeaway is that both of these devices were active during that time frame. They both traveled the same general direction, were active on the same sites. So it may certainly be reasonable to conclude that they were together during that time frame in those locations.
Okay, so reasonable to conclude that Shane Austin and Zach Adams' telephones were together since they seem to be making transitions together. Is that right?
Correct, based on the activity on the same cells within the same time frame.
They were together, but
Very
not
similar
Holly.
to the analysis that we had just gone through for the Birdsong sectors as well.
So the big
Did
long,
you also do some analysis
I'll wait.
regarding activity on the Birdsong cell tower and different dates?
Yes, I specifically looked up activity and made some notes of how often both Zach Adams, Jason Autry, Dylan Adams, and to, I believe, a lesser extent, Shane Austin. I think I said Shane Austin already. Zach Adams, Jason Autry, Dylan Adams, and to a lesser extent, Shane Austin, their devices were over on that same northeast sector of Birdsong. So
Okay,
specifically this sector here.
Let me see if I can have a minute, Your Honor. Let me see if I can find that. You did a spreadsheet, is that right?
I did. I don't know if it was printed out or
Okay. let me
presented
see
in that form.
if I can have a minute to find it. Your Honor, there's a spreadsheet I'm looking for in all these papers. I can't find it right now.
I think he said he wasn't sure. It was-
I know I prepared an email. I don't know if I printed it.
Okay, I think I need to print it. It's close to lunchtime. Would it be possible for us to take our lunch break now?
We can do that. Usually they bring their food in about this time, so we'll go ahead and take our lunch recess. It's going to take about an hour. We'll call for you. So,
okay. That is part 1 of day 9. So we've got about 34 minutes left here. So I'm going to have us keep on scooting along here because don't forget tomorrow, we're not going to be meeting. Tomorrow night, I have wifely duties because Mr. Demeanor's work Christmas party is tomorrow. So, but we're going to finish it all off on Saturday then. So I'm going to keep us going with the next part of the testimony, which is day 9, part 2, which is after lunch. Let me get us all set up here, closed captions. And it's always tea time. Thank you. Let me get this going. And here we go.
you remain under oath, Mr. Reeves. Continue your direction.
Yes, I was asking you about whether or not you had done some analysis on the Birdsong Road tower. And by that, I am referring to the tower that number 39077, which is the one that's in the upper quadrant by the Tennessee River.
The sector here.
Yes. And did you pull records from the calls of these men for that sector, that Birdsong 7 sector?
Yes, I did. I pulled the records for the month of April 2011
Okay.
for Shane Austin, Jason Autry, Zach Adams, and Dylan Adams.
Okay. And what did your record show? I know we have quite a few phone calls here, but
The briefest synopsis I could give is that they, all 4 of them, to varying degrees, used that sector throughout the month repeatedly on various days, various times, quite a few times.
okay. And do you have a spreadsheet that reflects that?
I do.
Okay. And on the top of that spreadsheet, will you just write the Birdsong Sector 7 at the top of that spreadsheet?
Okay.
Okay. And Your Honor, we'd like to have this marked as the next exhibit.
241.
Takes them forever to get evidence in
general,
this.
then, can you just give the jury a general idea of what days? And these records are color coded. Is that right? You're color-coded?
That's correct.
So,
Oh my goodness.
when does it look like these records are color coded? Each person has their own color. Is that right?
Oh, that looks
That's
like
correct.
an eye
Although I will
chart
say,
to
looking
me.
at this, it doesn't appear that the color difference between Jason Autry and Dylan Adams is all that clear on this particular printing.
Okay.
If you look at the second page, you'll see Dylan Adams also has a background of orange. It's just that his text is black instead of white.
Okay.
So yes, the attempt was to color code it, but I think that there was a little bit of discrepancy on how the colors turned out in the printing.
Okay.
Oops. That wasn't me.
Quickly, can you just kind of quickly give us a rundown of when it looks like people are there?
Sure. Shane Austin used that sector on April 2nd. Jason Autry, sorry, at 11:45 a.m. Jason Autry used that sector on April 6th from 12:13 p.m. all the way through 8:13 p.m. Zach Adams used that sector from,
Wait a minute, that's April 6th, and then there's another one.
I'm sorry, you're correct. Sorry, April 6th from 12:13 p.m. to 1:56 p.m. And then April 9th from 5:03 p.m. to 8:13 p.m.
Okay.
Zach Adams used the sector from April 10th at 7:10 p.m. to 8 p.m. Dylan Adams used that sector on April 11th from 12:06 a.m. to 12:51 a.m. Zach Adams also used that sector later in the day of April 11th from 9:28 a.m. to 9:55 a.m. On the 11th, then also Jason Autry, and this is the,
Is this the same day?
that's correct. Same day, different time, Jason Autry at 10:13 a.m. and also Zach Adams at 10:13 a.m. Jason Autry again at 10:33 a.m. and 10:34 a.m. Zach Adams at 11:11 a.m. and this is still April 11th. Jason Autry at 12:04 p.m. and 12:05 p.m. on April 11th. All the way from, and then again 12:50 p.m. to 4:53 p.m. on the 11th. Then on the 13th,
Then we reviewed the 13th, so we can
Yeah,
skip that.
correct.
How about on the 14th?
So on the 14th, Jason Autry has activity on that sector at 6:44 p.m. and 6:46 p.m. Zach Adams likewise has activity at 6:54 p.m.
I don't find this as
Same day. Yes. So 9
exceptionally
minutes apart.
helpful for the case, but
So,
whatever.
And I'm going to kind of summarize this because there's quite a few on the 14th. On the 14th, both Jason Autry and Zach Adams have activity on that sector all the way from starting at the previous page, 6:44 p.m. all the way up to 10:59 p.m.
I think that's where they went to get
On the 14th.
high. I truly believe that. I think it's also
On the 15th, Jason Autry used that sector from 1:26 p.m.
a place that they like to hang out that was peaceful. They weren't seen
To
there
1:30
from
p.m.
I-40. It
Again on the
makes
16th.
sense to me.
Jason Autry used that sector from 5:43 p.m. or just at 5:43 p.m. for 3 different activities. On the 22nd, Jason Autry and Zach Adams used that sector in close proximity or close time, 1:58 for Jason Autry, 2:02 for Zach Adams, and then again for Jason Autry. On the 27th, Jason Autry used that sector from 2:53 p.m. And the last record for Jason Autry was 6:35 p.m., but there are also records for Zach Adams around the same time frame from 5:49 p.m. to 6:41 p.m. on April 27th.
Okay. That you used telephone records with locations in order to decide where the phones were located. I'd like to pass some records up to you and see if you recognize these records. First, recognize what those records are.
Yeah, so these are the call detail records for Zach Adams from AT&T.
Okay, will you write on the top call details, Zach Adams?
Right, so the first set was the call detail for voice records. The second set is the call detail for SMS or text message.
Okay, will you write that call detail for text?
We don't need to watch him
Zach
write
Adams.
this.
Second is text call details, Zach Adams.
Okay. I'd like to have these marked as the next exhibits. These records. Do you remember that?
That's correct.
I'm going to pass you the second set, and if you would just tell the jury if you recognize what they are, and then write on the top of the record what it is.
So the first one is the voice call details for Jason Autry. And the second one is the text call detail.
Okay, and I'd like to have these marked as the next two exhibits. Your Honor. Another set of records. You recognize those if you tell the jury what they are, and then write.
I
on
bet
top
it's
of them.
Dylan's.
These are the first page is the voice call detail records for Shane Austin.
Oh, nope, Shane.
The second
I
page is
had a
the text call
50-50
detail
shot
records
and
for
I
Shane Austin.
blew it.
In your expert opinion, what is your conclusion regarding Zach Adams and Holly Bobo's devices and whether or not they were together on the morning of April the 13th?
In very general terms, the devices were not together at the same location at the same time during that morning. There was certainly one occasion that appears as Zach Adams' device was located in his home sector. The Holly Bobo device transitioned into that same sector at 9:10 a.m. So there are records that shows that Holly Bobo's device did travel into that area where Zach Adams' device was, but there were certainly cases prior to that where the devices were not together, clearly not together based on the call records.
And after.
You're saying her device was traveling towards him at one point and then moved on.
Correct. Her device made a general clockwise loop from her home location up north, then to the east, into his home sector, southeast sector of Post
Yep.
Road, and then back down south again towards Marston.
And in your expert opinion, what is your conclusion regarding the devices of Jason Autry and Holly Bobo on the morning of April the 13th?
There was no correlation between that I could determine from the call records between Jason Autry's device and Holly Bobo's device.
No further questions.
We could understand your power plant. Do you have
Oh,
some
well,
control over that?
At least we have Whisper and Rocks
Computer, right?
instead of Heifer.
Would you like me to plug it in? Or?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can you advance to slide 7 for me?
I believe that's slide 7.
Before we get to the questions I'm going to ask you.
Why are they up
What are the
on that
questions I'm gonna
witness
ask you?
box?
Let's just take one of these towers. I'm not even asking which one it is, just take this one. Okay. Our diagram here has these 3 pie things, like you said, like a pizza, right?
Correct.
And this, I assume this is an attempt to provide some sort of understanding to everybody about how these towers work and how they're separated.
Correct.
Doesn't
To-
correspond.
To be clear, though, it's more in the previous match you've seen it just divided up into 120 degree, just 3 individual lines around the tower. This is the information shown here is more indicative of the actual antennas themselves and the characteristics of the antennas on the tower.
Yeah,
of
not
the
some big
antennas on the
circular.
tower versus the area that
things.
it covers.
Correct.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, and I'm not sure this is not any sort of type of trick. If I'm looking at this as a layperson for the first time, well, I mean, this man right here has no cell phone coverage. That's not right, right?
That's correct.
And-
What it does mean is to get technical on it, the areas that are shown, the lines that are shown up there are the areas of the maximum power on those antennas.
Exactly.
So it's not that there isn't power between those 2 antennas or in that gap area, if you will. where
It just means it could
we'll
go
still have
either
it
way.
Here, it's just that there's not as much of it as it would be in the main beam of that antenna,
So this
Exactly. I still
area
got
right,
cell phone service if I'm in this little gap-looking area.
for the most
Correct.
part. correct,
right,
yes.
and
we, hope,
these
we hope I do.
If,
Right.
if you can hear me now, yes.
If I can hear you now. And in
stand
reality,
by the right blade
the
of grass.
coverage isn't a pie piece slice. Is that right?
From the individual cell sites.
Well, this is what I'm asking. These are
What
straight
are you
lines out
asking?
here, and then there's a border right here. So it looks like if I was unfamiliar with stuff, and if I'm, standing, I've got visual. If I'm standing, can you see? If I'm standing out here outside of my boundaries here, then I may not have any service from that tower, but that's not sure.
Correct. Those pie slices that are shown are not trying to be indicative of
It
coverage.
could be in
That's all
either
fine.
one.
This isn't the trick. This is to help us represent things, but in reality, my actual coverage areas are going to extend here. They're going to extend outside here. Isn't that true?
Further away from the towers, correct.
And even beyond that, if let's say, look at this here. If you shaded this like light blue, let's say, whatever color that is, okay? You see that?
Yes.
And you shaded this one dark blue.
Yes.
But if I looked at and I think there's one in evidence, and I'm going to call it the wrong word, that overlay map or that propagation map, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, we discussed the predicted best server map.
Absolutely. What I would actually see is I'd see dark blue stuff up here. I'd see light blue stuff dispersed in. There's overlap.
Actually, no.
You're talking about this tower?
Well, I'm talking about between the sectors of the tower.
Right.
And I'm glad you asked that because I want to make sure that this is clear. I know when Agent Frizzell got up here, he did his example of, let's assume or pretend like these chandeliers are individual cell sites. And he made the analogy that, when you're standing here, you could get service from that chandelier or that chandelier or that chandelier. That's all completely accurate. But when we're talking about the sectors now, in each case for those sectors, the signal is going to be coming from that same location at the tower. And the antenna that's pointing towards you will always have stronger signal than the antenna pointing away from you, just by the nature of the physics of it. So when you start walking your way, let's say you walk around that, so if you went like this, you would, by necessity, as you went into each sector, you would always be onto the sector that you are in the main beam of. Now, the exception would be is if you traveled out of this sector around into the next one, you would have some area in here where you would be still on this one, but this sector would be getting stronger. And there was actually a reference made by Agent Frizzell to side lobes or back lobes and indicating that it's possible to get on a sector that's pointing away from you. The reality is in this scenario, I'd say never. I'm going to say 99.999% of the time, engineering term, never happen. The reason for that is that all of this signal, the vast majority of the signals coming out here, and any signal from this antenna that would be in the back lobe would be so weak that the signal in the main lobes of the other antennas would be much, much stronger.
So with regards, I think I got you. With regards to if you look at the light blue area, if I'm in this light blue area, and of course it may extend out, but if I'm in this light blue area, then that's the sector I'm going to be in.
As opposed to the other sector of that same site, absolutely.
But if I'm in one of these, I'm going to use the wrong word, overlap or transition, whatever you want to say. If I'm in one of these areas, then not so much.
There would be some potential to be between those two sectors, one or the other.
Creating
They're trying hard
possibilities
to
and
make
probabilities
it
about where I am.
sound like they could still be in the same location, but
All right.
it can.
I'm looking behind you, and it's Bobo residence. You made a comment while you were testifying that the question was asked of Agent Frizzell about the time of the abduction. Generally, you made that comment.
This way down here,
Let's say the abduction. For purpose.
I'm going to pause for a moment because this, I don't know if you can see my cursor. So you see Whisper and Rock's shoulder right here. Follow my cursor all the way over here. This is the Bobo residence. So in relation to the map, here, let me do something here. That's not what I wanted. In relation to the map, you'll see that this right here is quite a distance from the blue, and even further distance to the Adams residence, or Adams property, I should say. So I wish we could see this actual map better, but there's something in the courtroom blocking. I'm guessing that's a piece of cardboard so that we don't accidentally see any jurors, but it's a significant distance.
This is our testimony here. Takes place at 7:45 a.m. at the Bobo residence. Okay.
Okay.
And these are her, like, some of her towers that you're showing on the left and the right of the Bobo residence.
Correct.
And actually, I think there's another one probably down here. Her phone,
There's a couple more further south that are from.
even though she has her house at her house that home when it utilized different towers.
Correct.
And that's not uncommon, you said, in rural areas.
Well, specifically in areas where you don't, it's very rugged and mountainous. So there's certainly the possibility that, well, and let's go back to Agent Frizzell's example again, using these individual chandeliers as fill sites. As I said here, I can see every chandelier. Frankly, they all look about the same brightness to me. But as I look underneath the desk here, where the light's being blocked, I get shadowing. So there's no light from these chandeliers making it down here. Whereas if this chandelier was on, this chandelier would have a better view down to this area. So ultimately, what happens in these areas where they're kind of between all these cell sites, they're not right in the main beams and they're not right in the main coverage of it, is you can have that scenario pick up where you end up on some sites that may be further away but have a better view to that particular location.
Various variables can interplay. I may go to that one versus that one or whatever.
Correct.
That's still my phone's still at her house.
Correct.
Her phone's still at her house until 7:45 when she is abducted. 7:45. Can you tell me where Shane Austin's phone is?
I cannot render any opinion on that based on the call records or the data available. I cannot.
Because we don't see any activity on Shane Austin's phone at all until 9:23.
That sounds correct, but I will verify that.
Shane Austin, the
That's
ginger,
correct.
is the one that abducted
7:45,
her.
Where Shane Austin's phone is.
Sure.
Would you prefer that I go to the slide that has Shane Austin's records on?
Let's just say this one. Shane Austin's phone, 7:45. We have no idea where it is, correct?
Correct.
I
Could
bet
even be
it's
turned off, correct?
at his house turned
Correct. I would
off
have no way of knowing that based on.
while he's sleeping,
7:45.
or it's
You tell me
turned
where
on
Dylan
and he's
Adams is.
sleeping.
No, I cannot. For the same reasons. There's
Right
no,
here.
Could even be turned off.
Raise your voice a little bit. They're having problems picking you up all the way back. I'm having a
My
little
apologies.
problem. You're facing away from me. But
Could even be turned off, right?
that's
Whispering
certainly
rocks,
possible.
you need to.
Shane Austin.
Use your
Dylan Adams'
diaphragm.
Phones could both be turned off in the pockets as they're right outside the Bobo residence at 7:45, abducting Holly Bobo.
Except nobody was
That is
seen
certainly-
there,
Speculation.
no, he's asking.
and facts not in
Saying the phone
evidence.
Could be. It's his area of expertise. He can express opinion on it.
That's correct.
Then we see her phone. I think I'm traveling north
Correct.
generally. And that's what the blue here indicates, correct?
That's the sector that she used.
That's the sector she used. Can you tell me when she uses this sector where Shane Austin's phone is?
No, I can't. She uses those sectors at 8:17 a.m. and 8:26 a.m. Sorry, her device uses those sectors at 8:17 a.m. and 8:26 a.m.
Can you tell me where Dylan,
And Shane Austin doesn't have any records, as we discussed, until 9:23.
can you tell me where Dylan Adams' phone is? When she
Oh my
uses
gosh,
this
you
phone?
just said that.
No, there were no records for Dylan's phone during that time.
So Shane Austin's phone could be in his front
Stop
pocket.
it.
Dylan Adams' phone could be in his front pocket. They could have Holly Bobo in the truck at the time of this North Tower ping or whatever it is.
I have no information on their devices during that time.
So they could be.
Yes.
Then her phone, and I'm going to get the word wrong, but transitions to this other side of the Shiloh Tower, correct?
Correct.
And as we said before, this is here. This is the overlap or whatever we want to say about the area between the two sectors here on the Shiloh Tower, correct?
Correct. There's a transition between the two.
So the first here and the second here. And this is, again, these lines should be going on further, right?
Yes, I would refer you to that predicted necessary map.
Absolutely. You're familiar with what this area is here?
It's pretty rural, but
It's rural, absolutely. It's called Yellow Springs. Did you go to the area?
I've been through the areas.
Were you aware that Mr. Alston's house was in Yellow Springs?
Yes,
Were you aware that Mr. Alston's grandmother's house is right around the corner in Yellow Springs?
I heard that. Yes,
Were you aware that they're both in a very rural area?
yes.
Everything's in a rural area
Now,
that took place
You
here.
testified about Mr. Adams'
Ay, ay, ay.
phone. And I believe the first activity we see on it is around 8:19. Is that correct?
That's correct.
It actually had activity earlier that day, like at 4:50 or something in the AM.
Very early. Yes.
Right. But between 4:50 and 8 AM until 8:19, it doesn't have activity on it.
That's correct.
And can you tell me between those two times, okay, do you know where his phone is?
No, I do not.
Could be off,
Could be on.
could be on with no activity.
Correct.
And basically, could be anywhere, as long as that gives them enough time to get back to this general area at 8:19.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And in fact, during the time period, okay, during the time period that we have these pings and this activity of Holly's phone in the Yellow Springs area, we do see Mr. Adams' phone transition to this sector here, correct?
Correct.
And that's a sector that includes Mr. Alston's residence, correct?
Correct.
And that's a sector that includes Mr. Alston's grandmother's residence.
Correct.
And then we also see on Mr. Adams' phone during the same general time period, I believe, a time gap of around 20 minutes of inactivity. Is that correct?
No, it was 2.
You're making me do math in my head. I'm sorry.
I don't
I believe it's
remember
closer
it
to
being.
15. I'm doing the math right.
8:38 to 8:53.
Correct.
Okay, and that's you did math better
Oh.
than me. 8:58. I'm sorry, 8:38 to 8:53. And in those 15 minutes, his phone could be on or off, and it could also be anywhere on here. Correct.
Well, obviously within the travel time.
So I could get back to.
Correct.
Right. When we're talking about getting back to, we're talking about the difference between this sector right here, which again, there's transition and everything, and these lines should keep on forward, and this sector right here, which there's transition and everything, and these lines should keep on going forward.
Correct.
And then we even see after that, her phone, Hollis, transition into his home, what we're going to call his home sector.
Correct.
Right? But, and I'm fine calling it his home sector, but actually, if we look at it, he's in this other sort of area, that whatever we want to call it.
Well, and one of the reasons I do call it his home sector is because historically looking at data, when we have every reason to believe that him being there like at 4 a.m., that is a sector that is utilized. So it's based on historical evidence as well as what we're analyzing here.
If we look at it on the diagram it is, and whatever we want to call this area.
Historical evidence as well to believe that him being there like at 4 a.m., that is a sector that is.
All right, I got to stop for a second here because I understand what Whisper and Rocks is trying to say here. However, Holly's phone being in this sector, and then all of a sudden it transitions all the way over into this sector, but they're actually saying into Zach's home sector. So all the way over into this sector. That is what they are wanting this jury and us to believe. It is that it popped over there. Now, excuse me. Again, this is a significant amount of miles to drive. I think he wants it to appear or seem like it's like 2 or 3 miles. And I dare say this is closer to 10 or 15, maybe. Maybe even more than that. What he's trying to sell can't be bought. But this jury did.
Utilized. So it's based on historical evidence as well as what we're analyzing here.
If we look at it on the diagram it is, and whatever we want to call this area between the two sectors.
Correct.
And then after her phone travels through that home sector, we see her phone again, right?
Correct.
Her last ping.
Or less located, yes.
And that's going to be, I don't think, is this it?
Yes.
We see it way down south. Is that correct?
Well, we see it served off that south, correct?
Sort of off that
Yeah,
southern.
that Parsons northwest sector.
Exactly. And at that time,
Down
of
by the
that
Brit
ping,
home.
down south, after it's traveled north, after it's gone through Yellow Springs, after the time gaps and everything we talked about, when we see it for the last time down south, where's Dylan Adams' phone?
We don't have any call records for that time frame.
We don't know.
No.
Could be in his front pocket, and her phone could be in his trunk.
We have no way of knowing.
At the same time, if I understand it right, Jason Autry's phone and Zach's phone go off to this Birdsong Tower, right?
Correct, in the general timeframe, correct.
The general, and each of them, I think you said before, the phones may even be with each other based on some of your observations or whatever.
It's possible, yes.
Okay. So off to the river together, or the area of the river, the Birdsong Tower
Correct,
area together, and then back together.
correct.
And you were asked before about, there was another little map that had like a light green line. It wasn't part of your PowerPoint, I don't believe, but you were asked about sort of a timing issue about when one of Zach's calls was and what tower it was on, or what sector of the tower it was on.
Specifically related to Birdsong
Birdsong.
and the return trip.
Exactly,
Yes.
the return trip. So you're asked a question about Zach's return trip.
Correct.
And you pointed out, if I understood it, that he was on a certain sector of that tower at a certain time.
Correct.
And then 6 or 7 minutes later, 7 or 8, 6 or 7.
If you're going to ask me the times, I'm going to have to get the map.
I think it's 32 to 38, but I don't know if that's 6 or 7 because of the way things are counting.
I believe that's the one that you're referring to.
32, 38. Is that right?
Well, no, so the information that you're seeing here, this is that northeast sector. Everything in purple is that northeast sector of Birdsong.
Yes.
Everything in brown is that west sector of Birdsong.
Yes.
And this is the sector that I think you're referring to that was missing. So there was no, if the route back was down south and then west, we would have expected, if there was activity during that time, we would have expected to see activity on that south sector, 39078.
This is the tower, right?
That's the tower location, yes.
This is the river.
Well, that's the interstate, that's the river.
Yes, the river is the
Yes,
blue,
north south.
is the blue, right?
Correct.
And this is the tower. It's the purple one, right?
That's the sector, that's the purple one.
Sector under the purple. So he starts out in that sector at 2:32, correct?
His last record in that sector is 10:32 a.m.
It's 10:32 a.m. And that sector includes an area south of that tower, correct?
Yes.
It's not the southern sector, if you want to say that.
Oh, no,
It
I mean,
includes an area
it's
south.
it's exactly what we've discussed before.
Exactly.
It's that there is a transition as you go between those sectors.
And then he transitions to this sector. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. And at the time, this is the only, I just don't want it to be confusing, okay? You're not testifying that at 10:32 a.m., okay, that Zach Adams is standing as far as he can over here next to the river bridge before he starts his trip back.
No.
He could be,
Sir, your star witness told us that's where they were. Sir, do you remember? Do you remember Jason Autry saying that they were moving her body onto the rip rap? Because I remember that. Huh. We're changing that now, huh? Okay. All right.
anywhere as far as that goes.
Anywhere that's being served by that sector, correct.
Including any sort of
The
overlap.
interesting thing here, though, is if you look at it, it is 10:32, he's on that sector. Within 3 minutes, he's on this west sector. And having been through this area, that's not a quick drive through that. So to me
Yeah.
personally, 3 minutes does seem odd. If there was activity for all the rest of that, those 3 minutes, I don't necessarily
But you know,
jump to the conclusion that it would be enough time to pass through that sector.
do you know when it is a quick drive? When you're driving really quick. And so he goes through this western sector
What
on the way
dork.
back to the home sector.
Ugh.
Correct.
And actually, on the way back to the yellow sector.
Correct.
You know where the Yellow Springs Church is?
Right up the road from Shane Austin's residence.
In that yellow section.
Correct.
That's it.
Okay, everybody. It's about that time of night. You know, I have to get my beauty sleep, and I've got a long day ahead of me. I'm hoping I won't do too much partying tomorrow night. You know, I can get a little wild when I've got some free time. Couple of things. Most importantly, before I move on to anything else, do the business. Oops, wrong side. Do the business. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share, have notifications on, send me your thoughts. I'm all of the above. So a couple things. One, some of you may be aware of the fact that I am a massive University of Michigan football fan. And there's a lot of stuff that's been happening in the past 36 hours or so that has to do with the University of Michigan football program. And if you aren't aware, my non-sports people that are watching, there may have been some tap dancing over into the true crime area. The head coach of the University of Michigan football team, Sharon Moore, was fired yesterday due to an inappropriate relationship he had with a staff member, namely his executive assistant. And in the business of all of this going down, he went a little wackadoodles and had a domestic violence issue at home with his wife, and then proceeded to the executive assistant's home. And the police had to be called. There were knives involved. There were threats made, and he got arrested. So he is not going to be arraigned until tomorrow. It is obviously a case that I'll be following to see if we have any additional information. But we are in the Holly Bobo and Zach Adams of it all right now. So we won't be covering any of that until likely after the new year. I think that this Zach Adams stuff with the hearings coming up and that we're probably going to be involved in this case for a hot second. So I just want you all to know that is a case on my radar. I will be following to see what I can bring you all as things go or continue. Oh, is he? I have not watched him, Melissa, in forever. I didn't realize that. Well, that's exciting to know. I'm so busy now. It's hard for me to be able to watch everybody that I used to. And so, yes, I will definitely be following that. Scheduling. You all know tomorrow night, excuse me, while I cough in the microphone to blast all of your ears. Tomorrow night, no live stream. However, I'm afraid I might party too much tomorrow night. So instead of us starting at 8 o'clock on Saturday, I might need a little bit of sleepy in time. So we're probably going to start at 9 a.m. on Saturday. I'm sure my West Coasters will be very happy that we'll be starting an hour later. East Coast, sorry, it's going to be kind of smack dab in the middle of your morning. I don't know what to tell you. But here's what I do need to find out from all of you. Do you want to hear the jury instructions in this case? It is about an hour long. And if you do, that's fine. I just need to know because I think we won't have a full day on Saturday, but it's probably a good 6 hours anyway that we're going to be streaming on Saturday to finish this out. So you all tell me if you want jury instructions or no jury instructions. I do not care one way or the other. Okay, so I'm so far. The only reason I would be interested in this case is because the judge is a little wackadoodles. And so who knows what'll happen with those jury instructions. So I'll make sure that we include that. We have, those are about an hour long. There is less than an hour left of testimony. And then the state closing is about 45 minutes. The defense closing is just shy of 2 hours. And then there's state rebuttal that is almost an hour long. So, and then we have the verdict in sentencing that we'll do all of that as well. Send me your Festivus ideas, the things you would like us to discuss for Festivus, which if you are not aware of Seinfeld, Festivus takes place on December 23rd. It is a Festivus for the rest of us. And it is an evening for us to air our grievances. So bring your metal pole with you and be ready to air your grievances because we're going to do it. But I want all of you, send me messages, send me comments either on the Twix. You can just comment on my profile page, send me a comment through YouTube, direct message me, whatever you want to do, and tell me what you would like to air out as your grievance for our Festivus live stream. And I think I've covered everything I needed to cover. With that, I'm grieved that Brian Walsh didn't testify today too, but I kind of saw that coming. So, you know, I am going to head into the bedroom to get some very much needed beauty sleep. And we will be back here on Saturday morning. I'll send the notification out before, probably sometime tomorrow, so that you'll all have that. And in the meantime, remember, it doesn't cost a penny to be kind. So find someone to do something nice for today if you haven't already. And as always,